Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome. I think some of you have already joined us. Thanks for joining us, guys. Thanks for taking part in this Ask Me Any Stock session. If you guys can see and hear me, just type a GM for good morning. Let me just acknowledge all of you for being here today, all right, on a Friday morning. Hi, we have Andy. Hi, good morning as well. Iris, definitely seen you before many times. Edward, good morning. Hi, Esther, RTK as well. Eddie, Thomas, a lot of familiar names. Brandon, for sure, right? Every Friday you're joining us. Thank you so much. Thomas, let's see who is here today. Jennifer Joe as well. Very good to see you as well. Jenny, hi, good morning. Good morning. Okay, good. Welcome, guys, to our Friday weekly Ask Me Any Stock session. So if you have never joined us before, or like you're kind of like brand new over here in this community, well, what happens is that since last year, in fact, almost 2 years already, right? We have been going live every Friday, 10:30 a.m. sharp. All right, if there's no public holiday, right? But we go live and we have this session called the Ask Me Any Stock. So we alternate between the Singapore and the US market. So last Friday was US. So today is back to the Singapore market, right? Back to the Singapore market. So essentially what is this is that we do a quick market outlook. I'll look at the STI since it's Singapore, right? So I'll look at the STI, what's some of the key levels for the market. Are we more bullish, bearish? All right, what are some of the factors affecting the market as well? All right, and after that, we'll move on to the next segment, which would be the Singapore stocks that you guys are asking about, right? So I think some of you are already typing in the name of the Singapore stocks you want, right? So later when you type in the name of the Singapore stocks you want a quick opinion on, well, give us a bit of context, all right? Give us a bit of an idea of like, what are you actually looking to do? Are you looking to buy or maybe you're looking to sell, all right? If you got in previously, what price do you get in, all right? Or maybe you forget the price, then when do you get in, all right? So from when, then we can agak tell the price, all right? So give us a bit of context so that the analysis can be a little bit more personalized to you. Does it make sense, Mark? All right, so that's where we'll give you more priority as well when we go to analyze or dive into your stock using my one good trend strategy. All right, so if we have never met before, guys, my name is Joey Choy, top tier reminder trader in Philip Securities. I've been doing this, just a quick one, for more than 15, in fact, more than 20 years now. All right, and my forte is in stocks. I use what I call the one good trend strategy. I have a tool based on this strategy called the One Good Trend Pro indicator that we'll be using later, right, to analyze your stocks. All right, just a quick one. I mean, today we don't have time to explain the whole strategy to you, all right, but we actually have a 7-step checklist that breaks it all down. We have a system that allows us to screen out as well the top 1% of winning stocks in like seconds, all right, and then know exactly when to buy and sell them as well, right? So no time to explain the whole strategy, but the link is right in the chat. I think my team have already placed the link in the chat. Attend a free webinar. This is our last webinar next Tuesday on the 25th of August, 7:30 p.m. right, next Tuesday. So last webinar, right? The next one will be probably in 2 or 3 months' time. All right, so go to register for it. All right, that's where I look forward to share more with you guys in this free webinar, and so that you can gain a bit more clarity. All right, Ken. Okay, let's get started. So very simple, guys. At the end of today's AM/AS session as well, that's where I will also, I know not just me, but me and my team will share with you guys some of the, pretty much just 3 Singapore stocks that is in our watch list, whereby it still looks good. Of course, we had some bullish signals triggered, playing out. There could still be more upside as well. So make sure you stay all the way to the end if you want to know what are the 3 top Singapore stocks. Each of us, we have 3 over here. All right, me, Z, and Jai is over here. So we'll share total of 3 Singapore stocks you want to watch as well. All right, to potentially write even more upside. Right. So before we continue, guys, would it be okay, right? Would it be okay? I'm looking at some of the stocks that you guys are asking about, right? But would it be okay that before we move on, is it okay if you help us to like and share? Help us to like and share, all right? Just show me some love, heart share. I think that will definitely help out the algorithm. And of course, if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, we are live on Facebook as well, right? Make sure you follow us if you're on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, all right? There should be a button at the top somewhere, all right? Hoping to reach like 20,000 subscribers. Right now we're like about 17,000 plus, right? So hopefully you can reach 20,000 subscribers. So make sure you subscribe. That will be very, very helpful for us. It will definitely help us to reach out to more people, and I really thank you for that. It's free to subscribe, by the way, right? So just subscribe so that when we go live in the future, or maybe every week, we share some of the videos on the market, on certain stocks, certain sectors, even our podcast that we launched about 1 month back. All right, we every week, we kind of like publish a podcast video that's about 45 minutes long, whereby we chat about things to do with stocks, investment, finance. We even have guest speakers as well. So that's where you will not miss any of these videos, all right, on my YouTube they shared, whether it's a podcast or some of those analysis kind of videos as well, right? So subscribe if you have not done so. Thank you so much for doing that. All right, like and share as well. Really appreciate it. All right, those of you who have like and share. Okay, very good. Now let's go ahead to get started right now. Let me just go to introduce my team member very quickly. Today we have Z, right? Z and Jai over here. So let me just go to introduce Z as well, one of the top brokers as well under me in Philip Securities, running our group coaching sessions, our one-on-one calls with our mentees, even assisting our team's portfolio manager, running an 8-figure portfolio management business. All right, and Z is an expert in charts. All right, she is a CMT, chartered market technician. All right, basically an expert in technical analysis, chart patterns, price action, candlestick. She's the go-to person. She's very proficient in the one good trend strategy as well. Right, so let me just pass on the mic to Z. All right, Z, yours.
All right, thanks Joey for the introduction. Hi everyone, my name is Z for those who have not met. But good to see a lot of familiar names back here today as well, right? So yeah, basically like what Joey mentioned in terms of charts, I do like looking at charts, right? And the thing is that sometimes when looking at charts, the market sometimes doesn't give you a very beautiful chart to look at to be honest, right? But sometimes those beautiful charts, that is where you are able to, kind of like spot the opportunities, right? But then the thing is that when you're spotting opportunities, you also don't want to anyhow buy it, right? You want to have certain checklists, certain process and certain, confluence of factors in place whereby then you make a decision whether, where do you buy, where do you sell, right? And I think that's where, Joey's 1GD Pro indicator will be able to come in very handy, right? Because with a click of a button, you are able to see a very quick opinion, whether there's a bullish signal, there's a bearish signal, together with a confluence of factors. How does that help you with your trading plan, right? So it's a very systematic step-by-step process. If you want to find out more, like what Joey mentioned, we don't have time to talk about it during the webinar. During the session today, but feel free to join the upcoming webinar, I think next Tuesday. Right, so yeah, that's a little bit about me. I like to look at charts basically, right? So without further ado, right, I'll pass the time back over to Joey so that actually he can introduce our other teammate as well.
All right, thank you so much, Z. Okay, so today we have Jia joining us as well. Bervin today is working on other projects, right? So we kind of like rotate. I'll try my best to be here for sure, right? I'll try my best to be here, but my team will try to rotate. And see who is available. But so Bervin is not here. We have Jia joining us here today as well. Also one of the top brokers under me in Philip Securities, as a broker, assisting our teams, group coaching, one-on-one calls, our portfolio manager as well. All right, and Jia also is very proficient in the one good trend strategy. All right, he analyzes stocks very very quickly. All right, and also he has what we call a very special skill set in terms of candlestick. All right, I think he does focus a lot of candlestick as well, and sometimes I do consult him on certain price action. Right, so let me just pass on the mic to Jia just to share a little bit on himself first. Jia.
All right, thank you, Joey. So good morning, everyone. So welcome back to another AMS session. So I think for those joining us for the first time, my name is Jia over here, and have been joining. I have been working along with Joey since 2023, supporting our clients and also taking on more of the education programs and also AMS. So I think for those who actually join us regularly, I think you might have noticed that I was not here for the past 2 weeks, but was on a short break, but finally back and ready to go for this week. So I think for today, we'll be focusing on Singapore market, and we're just looking through, STI has been hitting all-time high, and I think some of the banks has been also doing very well, after the earnings came out. So I think for today, we'll be looking at the STI, what has been happening over the broader market, and also afterwards, like what Joe had mentioned, we'll be diving into your requested stocks. And I think that's a quick overview of today's session. And I think, of course, stick to the end because we'll be sharing our bonus stock at the end as well. So yeah, I think with that, I'll pass on my time back to Joey.
Okay, thank you so much, Jai. Okay, so let's get started. Let's get started right now. And just a quick disclaimer, guys. Whatever that's being shared today in our AMAS sessions, right, it's just for education purposes only, right? So please do your own due diligence, right? We're not asking you to buy or sell anything, right? We're just showing you guys the process, the framework, the tools that we're using, all right? And you decide and you control your own actions. Cool? All right, Ken? So just a quick disclaimer as usual. Now let's go to take a look at what we call the markets very quickly. Let me know, guys. Type a S for STI if you want me to go through the Singapore's STI right now, since today is the Singapore market? Let me know, right? As for STI in the chat, I think we have slowly more and more of you joining us. Welcome guys to the Ask Me Any Stock session happening today. Will be the Singapore market. All right, Singapore market. If we have never met before, my name is Joey. All right, if you're just joining us live for the very first time as well, this is where we pretty much go through the Singapore stocks that you are asking about. All right, so if you're looking at Singapore stocks, scrolling away on YouTube or Facebook, you're in the right place. Don't scroll away. Stick, continue to stay on. All right, okay. Let's see. Right, as for STI, thank you so much. Right, STI, Iris, STI, Brandon S as well, James, Yeling S, awesome. So very quickly, let's take a look at the Straits Times Index, the Singapore STI right now. So for STI, it has been very strong, I would say. I think we have been talking about it every 2 weeks in our AMAS, right? I mentioned that Singapore has been really strong since like last year. All right, since last year, the long-term trend is clearly up. We had this equity market development program that was launched last year, second quarter of last year, and not just 5 billion, but I think about $6.5 billion of funds earmarked put into Singapore equity, Singapore stocks, a couple of programs that the government launched as well. All right, and we have been seeing a lot of strength, a lot of funds coming to Singapore. All right, it's seen as a safe haven country as well. All right, and as to what we're seeing in the world, right, Middle East crisis, US-Iran crisis, all right, Israel and Hamas crisis as well. And then so Singapore is seen as a safe haven, right? I think that's where we've seen a lot of strength, a lot of funds, coming into Singapore. All right, the banks have been pushing higher as well, and that has led the STI even higher. So I would say that right now, the long-term trend is still up. All right, we were actually consolidating from like February all the way to June. All right over here, it was a bit boring, right? Just sideways, 4,008 to maybe 5,002, then up, down. But I would say that since June, the market has been more bullish. The banks has led the way even higher. We are now pretty much almost at an all-time high. So I think the range right now for the STI would be in this range, somewhere from, let's see, right? So I think resistance, if I can draw it for you, maybe just push it a bit higher, 5,008 to that 5,650. All right, I think that is kind of like the range we're seeing here. Yeah, somewhere over here, right? 5,640. Yeah, seems like 5,640 to 5,008. That seems to be kind of like a support have came out over the past 2 weeks. Now, very simple. Let's go into turn on, all right? This one good trend pro indicator that I have to see what it says. So I have these two. I call it the one good trend pro indicator, right? That is pretty much based on my one good trend strategy. For any stocks, any asset classes, we are able to turn it on, all right? Signals in seconds, right? 1, 2, 3, pump, right? So once I turn it on, you can see off it, gone. On it, it comes out, right? So any stocks, any asset classes, we can turn it on. And we have a very quick idea of what is happening. So you can see for STI, right? We've been talking about it since like June. Now it's August, so it's about 2 months already. We got a 1 GT bullish signal came, that got triggered. The short-term trend turned up. Look at the green line turning up, June, July, up, all right? Right now, you can see that the green 20 days moving average line, all right, it is it's still up, but maybe not as up as it was in like July lah. Correct, right? So the green 20 days moving average line, I would say, is starting to flatten out a little bit, which is okay. I think that we are kind of like maybe seeing a bit of a consolidation, all right, a bit of resistance at 5,008, but that could be what we call a bit of a consolidation. If I could just give a bit more allowance, right, it could be like 5,006 to 5,008. Right, that is potentially the range that we are looking at right now for the STI. And why is the STI consolidating? So if you know, right, the banks has been pushing higher. DBS, OCBC, and even UOB, all right, since June, July, pushing higher. And the banks alone, right, the 3 Singapore banks alone accounts for about 50%, almost half of the weightage of the STI. So if the banks are pushing higher, STI, more or less will go up as well, right, and follow through. And of course, the banks have seen a bit of selling recently, a bit of profit taking. That's the reason why STI, same thing, is also moving a little bit sideways. So I think overall, it is still okay. Of course, some of the factors affecting the market in terms of the US would be, the Middle East crisis, US and Iran war. I think all those of you have been following the news, right? I think like just last night, Trump also announced that now they are going to launch what we call an economic warfare, right, on Iran, all right, and countries who is like supporting Iran economically as well, working with them, I think they never name any countries, right? But essentially, they want to make sure that Iran's government is brought down, not just through the military effort, because right now there's still a stalemate in terms of talks between US and Iran. There's the Straits of Hormuz is still kind of closed. There's still a blockade of the Straits of Hormuz and stuff, right? So I think US is kind of like taking another approach, not through the missiles and military way, but through the economic way, introducing economic sanctions and all that. So that has kind of like put a drag on the market. It's still uncertain. All right, it's dragged on for about 6 months already and still not solved. No signs of closure yet in terms of the Straits of Hormuz between, in terms of the conflict between US and Iran. So I think that's kind of like the main thing that's affecting the market. Of course, oil prices have pushed higher. All right, oil prices have pushed higher. That has seen strength in some of the oil and gas stocks as well. All right, but I think it's still a bit of uncertainty, right, regarding this news. Okay, Ken. So this is the STI right now. Let's move on. So I think it looks okay. All right, it's pretty much taking a breather from 5,006 to 5,800 for now. All right, I think that as long as all these key support levels are holding, the bullish signals is still playing out. And if I can show you, right, we can turn on the trailing support level, one of the very powerful features, right, of the One Good Trend Pro indicator. So you can see, right, when we got a bullish signal in June, well, we had this green trailing support line popping out, right? So the long-term trend is up. Let me just remove these 3 lines so it's a bit clearer, right? You can see that we have this line below the candlestick, below the price that actually popped up, right? As STI, the Singapore market moved high, you can see this green line actually followed it up, flat, follow, flat, follow. And from June, we follow until now. Are we still above it? Yes, we are still above it. All right, so that is another confirmation that we see, because this trailing support gives the market the room to breathe. You go higher, it follows it. But you can see as you follow, it doesn't follow so closely. It also give it the space to breathe, right? It accounts for the market's volatility as well. Right? So if you're more volatile, I give you more space. But if you never really move much, like up, down a bit, then don't need so much space, right? Then it will be a bit nearer, right? But the fact is that there's space between the trailing support and the STI movement. All right, so obviously we're still above it very nicely, space given. Right, so as long as we stay above, I think the market still is strong. Plus other confirmations that we seek, like the signal, the moving averages, everything still looks pretty good, right? If the 5,800 resistance gives way, that's where the market could move on to a higher phase. And one thing people might say, hey Joey, once the stock starts to move sideways or the market starts to move sideways, it's like not a good thing and stuff, right? But my take is this. I think if the stock or the market were to move sideways, we consolidate, it could actually be a good thing. All right, and I do like it as well, because if the stock keep on moving higher and higher, or the market keep on moving higher and higher, I think that's where you want to be careful, right? Because there's no support being found, all right? It's just overextended, right? And when selling comes back, it can be fast as well, right? But if we see a consolidation like over here, right? March, April, May, and June, we're consolidating, pump. Consolidate, pump, right? Consolidate a bit here, pump. Right now it is consolidating again, right? So you can see that we consolidate for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks before attempting to break and push higher. That is what we call a healthy, more sustainable uptrend. And that's exactly what we're saying for the STI since last year, right? Since last year, I think it is very good. It is still continuing. All right. Okay. Now let's move on. Let's move on to the next segment, right? Which I think all of you are here for, which would be kind of like the Singapore stocks that you guys are asking about. So go ahead to type in the chat, guys. Go ahead to type in the chat the Singapore stocks, right, that you would like a quick opinion on. And that's where I will choose the very first stock for today before I pass on the mic to Jia Yi and then Z. All right, we'll do round robin style very quickly, one by one, right? So we're going to type the name of the Singapore stock, not just the name, right, but give us a bit of context. And I think that's exactly what all of you are doing, right? I think you all know the style already, the pattern, right? Okay, give us a bit of context. You can see that when you just put one name there, then we probably wouldn't choose you, but if you put one name there plus dash, then talk, wow, I bought this at what price, and then we will confirm give you priority, I mean, you put in time and effort, we also will try to help you, right? So give us a bit of context, right? That's where we will give you more priority, right? I think that's exactly what some of you are doing. So let me go to pick the very first stock for today. Let's see, okay, Ken? We'll try our best to cover. Like you see, like Melvin, sets. What do you want to know about sets? Give us a bit of context, then we'll confirm, try to choose you. Okay, Ken? Yeah, now let me go ahead to pick the first one. Okay, let's see. Ricky, all right? I hope you're still over here. I think you're one of the first few who commented, right, on this stock right over here called Yang Zijiang. Good morning, bought Yang Zijiang at 4.67. Thank you so much for giving us a bit of context. So Yang Zijiang, let me pull out Yang Zijiang shipbuilding. Let's take a look. There we go. Yang Zijiang YZJ shipbuilding, right? The code is BS6. So you got in at $4.67, right? Thanks for context. So you got 4.67. Right now, it's about $4.74. Okay, a little bit higher. What stop loss to set? All right, what's the next resistance to sell some? All right, so maybe you have it, maybe looking to sell some. All right, and maybe if certain levels are broken, you could get out as well. Stop loss. Right. Thank you so much for giving us a bit of context. Right, and this will be Yang Zijiang. All right, so Yang Zijiang, I would say that you can see very quickly, guys, that the long-term trend has been up. Right, look at the red line, 100 days moving average line. The red is above the blue, both pointing up. So when we break it all down, guys, as I say, we have a 7-step checklist, right? That kind of like make it very simple. We follow it. If we have 4 out of 7 steps. So the link is right in the chat, guys. Attend the free webinar. This is our last webinar, right? Last webinar, next Tuesday, 7:30 p.m., 25th of August. The link is right in the chat. I think it's probably hidden somewhere, right? Team, just place the link in the chat. We actually break it down. So you can see for Yang Zijiang, the long-term trend is up. So if you're looking to buy this stock, it is okay, right? It is okay. Definitely a stock that we have actually shared as well with our clients in Philip Securities, right? So long-term trend is up, it's fine. The green line would be the short-term trend. Look at the green line. We want to kind of like get in when we see the green 20 days moving average line turning up as well, right? It's not always up, but the green line can be down one. You can see here, down, right? Over here, down, right? So we want to only get in when the short-term trend and the long-term trends are aligned. All right. Now, so there will be 2 very powerful confirmations that we get. But another very powerful, in fact, one of the main confirmations that we seek would be the signals. All right. Any single stock, all right, we can turn on the bullish and bearish signals. If you click on a button right over here, the first box, all right, team, just remove the panel. You can see that we got this 1 GT bullish signal, right? Right over here, right? Previously, we got bearish. So in like May, we got bearish signals, all the way down. All right, not so good. So when you see a bearish signal, you want to be a bit more careful about it. Once a bullish 1 GT signal green comes out, or that was in like 22 of July. So about a month back, right? You can see that we got a bullish signal. The green line turns up. There's another confirmation. We've got 4 confirmations already, right? We started to push a little bit high. So of course, if you have got in over here, $4, $3.90, that would be better, right? But it doesn't matter. In fact, this was one of the stocks that we actually shared with our clients in Philip Securities, since like last month. All right, if you got in, great. You can see that we've gone a little bit higher. Now, let's take a look at Yang Zijiang right now. So I would say that, Ricky, right, you bought the 467, so slightly higher, all right, slightly higher. What's the stop loss? Next resistance to sell some. So I would say that for now, right, Yang Zijiang, it seems like over the past 2 weeks, we have found some support around $4.60, right over here. Look at this, right? There, rebound, over here, rebound, right? We're still above 460, now it's 474. So 460 will be what we call a bit of a near-term support level. So if you're looking at a potential entry, well, I think 460 could be a little bit on dips, like 461, 463, 462, 464, all right? That is where I think some buying pressure came out. We are kind of like consolidating at a higher support level. So you can see, right, the support used to be like 380. We were consolidating here for like about 2 weeks, and then we broke the resistance. There we go, higher, and then now the consolidation becomes higher. Can you see, guys? The support has gone from here to here. So I think it looks good, right? If we see a stock consolidating at a higher level, I think that just shows strength. It just shows strength. We're no longer going down to the lower support, but we are consolidating higher. So I think support-wise at 460. So if you want to have a stop loss, usually what we have is that we want to put it below, not below this horizontal support, but I don't know how many shares you buy and the position size that you took and stuff, but even before we buy any stocks, right, take note that we can have a plan, and we want to have a plan kind of like to have a stop loss below this trailing support level, right? So maybe below below 425, 430. I think that will be what we call a stop loss that we have given enough space for the stock. So if you want a very tight stop loss, you could put it below the horizontal support. But for us, right, I think it's good that we want to put it below the trailing support just to give it enough space to breathe, right? To breathe. Okay, Ken? Resistance-wise would be at about 480, all right, or maybe let's see, right, maybe about 490 lah. Seems like it is doing, yeah, 490 or maybe to $5. I mean, you can put the $5 if you want. And $5 will be a very key psychological resistance. So I think the zone will be like 490 to $5. If you were to hit to there, you can potentially take some profit as well. I think that's where some selling could actually come back. So the range is like 460 to 490 for now. I think overall still looks okay. It's pretty much resting. The short-term trend is up. Long-term trend is up. Bullish signal is still in play. We found a higher support at 460. So as long as it stays above 460, I think the uptrend still remains intact. All right, you could continue riding it. If we break $5, we could even see targets being raised to 550 as well. All right, Ken. So this is Yang Zijiang, the very first stock for today. I hope that helps give you a bit of an idea of the support, the resistance as well. All right, now let me pass on the mic to Jia Yi to cover the next Singapore stock. Jia Yi, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Joey. So I think the next stock that we're covering on, I think this counter has got quite a lot of attention just yesterday. It's actually sets. Let me just share my screen. I think a lot of people are looking at sets, I think especially after yesterday's drop. So I think in the chat, I saw quite a few of you guys also asking about sets. Let me just pull it out. I think Joel was asking, good time to consider to enter for sets since the price has dropped a lot. Look like long-term uptrend, but price action doesn't look good. So Joel is looking to enter for sets. I think Lee's bought sets yesterday at 4.43. Today dropped to 4.04. Was hasty and click buy when open poems without checking the 1GT chart. So it seems like you have the 1GT signals, but you didn't check the chart before you buy, so you just enter directly or straight away when you open poems. So maybe you can look at what you can do for sets now. And I think RLT sets sell. Not sure whether you have a position or looking to short sell or whether you're selling away your positions. I think Pinky also asking about sets. Bought sets at 3.56. Should I sell or add 1GT down? So looks like Pinky also have access to the 1GT indicator as well. And I think Melvin sets, not sure whether looking to buy or sell, but maybe let's just look at sets and how is it like. So I think for sets, just yesterday, I think their earnings came out, and I think the profit was, I think, not too bad, but I think the future outlook was not say very good. I think there's some geopolitical headwinds, a bit of they're worried the Middle East crisis might disrupt their cargo, their trade flow, and also their flights activities. So I think just yesterday, if you were to look at the chart wise, I mean, just looking at this candlestick, it was quite a bearish candlestick, and I think it actually dropped, I think around 12 to 13% in one day for a Singapore counter. Actually, that's quite a huge drop. So I would say actually for sets wise, maybe let us look at for those who are having some position, where are some of the key levels that you might want to look at, or for those who are looking to enter, whether you should be actually entering for sets. So I think for sets wise, if you were to just zoom in back 1 year ago or like start of this year, actually has been quite slow and stable. Prices have been trading previously around this $3.20 range to around that $4 range. So I think start of the year it has been kept under this $4 resistance, came back down to test at 320, but overall the long term has been showing strength. All the moving averages for the 100 days and the 200 days over here has been all the way sloping upwards. So I think back then it hit the 320 in May, rebounded from this support, and I think afterwards 1GT bullish signal appear, another 1GT bullish signal appear in start of June, broke above this, I think around at $4 psychological resistance level. And afterwards, you see that prices after breaking this level continue to show more strength, went up above that 350 and went close to that $5 resistance level. But I think just yesterday, I mean, if you look at it, after their earnings, it actually came back down. Moving averages wise, first thing we can notice that the 20 days moving average start to point now. Obviously, because within 1 day, the price actually dropped more than 10%. We can obviously see that the 20 days moving average is actually pointing down, and currently prices broke below that 450, and there was a 1GT bearish signal that appeared yesterday, indicating that there's more selling pressure for these sets, and especially we see that prices continue to trade even lower for today. So actually for sets wise, previously we identified that $4 was a resistance, which turned into a support previously was a resistance start of the year and turning into a support, I think around in June. I think for now, if you're looking to enter for sets, I would say price has dropped quite a bit yesterday and today. We're not too sure how much more weakness are we seeing into sets, especially after their earnings. And you can see there's still selling pressure in this counter. Overall, it's back to that $4 key support level. So I would say $4 might be a key support level that you guys might want to look at and monitor first. Hopefully, within the next few days, prices are able to stabilize above this $4 so that we can see that at least this $4 support is still well supported. And if prices are able to stay above this $4, I would say the 100 days and the 200 days moving average will still remain to be sloping upwards. So maybe we want to wait for some stability first for those who are looking to enter. Look at this $4, whether it's able to hold above this $4. And if it's able to hold above, that'll be a good sign that $4 is still quite well supported, where buyers will still come in to buy and hold this level. But I would say for these 2 days, prices has been showing weakness. For those who are looking to enter, best is actually to hold on first, wait for stability. But for those who actually have positions, I think like just now I saw, I think some of you guys, I think Pinky, you bought it quite long ago, maybe about 356, maybe I think back then in May or even way before that. Hopefully along the way you actually took some profit. And I think if you are looking to sell or add on, I would say if you are looking to add on, maybe you want to wait for stability first. But if you are looking to sell, I think if you previously already took some profit and now you still have some position, maybe this $4 might be a support level that you want to monitor. And if this $4 is broken, maybe you want to get out. Since if you sell at $4, you'll still be in some profit. Maybe that's the level that you want to closely monitor, $4. Get out first, and maybe once price start to show more strength and stability, you can re-enter. Nothing wrong with that. Especially there's a 1GT bearish signal indicating that there's more selling pressure in this counter. And I think someone also sold this. Yeah, I think you bought it just yesterday at that 4.43. So I think you also can tell that there's still selling pressure in this counter, and today actually came back down close to that 404, which is near that $4 support. So when you entered at 443, what was your trading plan? I think we always want to have a trading plan whenever we enter into a stock. What is the stop loss level? What's your target level? We want to make sure that your risk to reward is actually good for you to enter into this trade. So I think for you, at least you actually bought it yesterday and did to this $4. I think, like what I mentioned, $4 is still a key support level that you want to closely monitor. If prices continue to show more weakness, I think best is actually to get out because we don't know how much more weakness it might show. Maybe it might go back down to that 360 or even at 320. Previously, this is the next 320 as a key support level as well. So I would say for sets wise, I think after their earnings has been showing weakness. For those who are looking to enter, best is to wait for stability. $4 is a key support level. Now I think 450, actually what I mentioned, is actually a resistance now. So for those who actually have positions, $4 is still like what I mentioned, a support that you want to monitor. For those who have bought it a long time ago, maybe you want to secure a profit. And for those who actually bought it at a slightly higher price, maybe you might want to have a stop loss plan in mind. So I think for those who have position, I think closely monitor for sets, especially these few days. This $4 key support level might be a level that you want to closely monitor. I think, with that, I think that's for sets. Hopefully it helps you give you a clarity on what to do for sets. If not, I'll pass on my time to Z to cover the next stop.
All right, thanks, Jai. Okay, let me just change the screen over here. Okay, I hope all of you can see my screen, right? And the next stock that I'll be covering will be PCT Partners by CJNG7. By the way, CJNG7, your username, right, reminds me of this movie. I don't know if you guys know, the 长江七号, the soft toy that actually glows, the Stephen Chow movie that is very long ago. Yeah, but your name reminds me of that because CJ7, right? But anyway, let's talk about PCT, okay? Because I think PCT is actually also one of the bonus stock, right, that was actually covered a couple sessions back. right? And this is something that it is also, very much related in the tech industry, and I think people are also looking at that, right? So I hope you're still here. You mentioned that you bought PCT at 2.95, and you're asking whether is it time to cut loss or hold for more upside. Okay, I think you're asking this question also because now if we look at PCT, right, I think it has pulled back, right? Definitely over the past 1 week, you can see price action started to pull back, and now it's trading about 2.80. And by the way, right, just to share with you guys, this D, I think it's a new feature by, not new feature, it's a new update by TradingView that actually tells us that data is delayed. If you did not purchase the Singapore live price, right, then definitely you'll be showing this D lah. It doesn't mean dividend, by the way, it means data is delayed. Okay, dividend is the one at the bottom that shows D. The one here, it shows data is delayed. I've tried to find out a way whether can we actually off this, but unfortunately I cannot find a solution lah. So if you guys, any of you guys know how can I actually off this without subscribing, right? You can know also. But yeah, that is just something to note, right? D doesn't mean dividend. It just means that data is delayed if you did not buy the TradingView Singapore live price. Okay, so back to PCT. Right, so right now price trading about 280, right? CJ you bought at 2.95, so sitting on a bit of small loss because over the past 1 week, right, like I mentioned, price actually pulled back, right? But overall, when we look at PCT partners, we see how many of you guys are here, about 270, right, from YouTube and Facebook. Okay, maybe you guys can interact a little bit, right? What do you guys think of the PCT trend? Do you think that is uptrend, downtrend, good, not good? Let me know your thoughts, right? So that, CJ can also see what you guys think about this particular stock, right? Let me know. What do you guys think about the trend for PCT partners? Look good, not good, uptrend, downtrend? Yeah, let me know what are your thoughts about this. Right, PCT partners on the screen right over here. Let's see. Melina, good uptrend. ABC, hi ABC, up. Okay, user EF trend is still good. RLTK, up. You, uptrend. Jenny, uptrend. Brandon, up. Okay, a lot of you guys say up. I hope nobody says this is a downtrend, right? Why? How do we actually determine whether is it an uptrend? Very simple. We just look at the moving average, right? And the moving average basically is this 20 days, 100 days, and 200 days. Green, red, blue. And everything is generally heading up, right? It's sloping up, right? Definitely, it's not pointing down, right? So we know that short-term uptrend, long-term also uptrend. Still okay, right? Nothing is actually pointing down now. And this one, I really turn on the signals, right? By the way, the signals is here. For those of you guys who maybe are just scrolling through and wondering, what is this signal about? By the way, Joey actually has this free trial, right? For the 1GT light indicator, whereby, we don't have, the light indicator doesn't have all of these advanced features, but you'll be able to also see, to test drive it yourself to see whether your particular stock that you're interested in, whether got all these bullish or bearish signal or not, right? I think the link will be actually in the chat. So if you guys want, you guys can test drive it out for free for 14 days to see whether does it help you with your trading plan. All right, so for this PCT partners, do we see bullish signal? Definitely. We see not one only, but one here, and the second one is here, which is two bullish signal that is actually still playing out. No bearish signal yet, right? And we know that the uptrend in terms of short-term, long-term is actually still intact, right? So after knowing all of that, definitely you want to know where's your support, where's your resistance, right? Why? It's because I think those of you who have been joining us for a long time, you have been hearing me saying this many times, right? Support tells us roughly when buyers are potentially returning based on the price action that we have seen, right? Resistance tells us where selling pressure, profit taking could potentially return, right? So based on this, you can see that I've drawn quite a number of lines, right? There's one at about 160 here, right? Definitely from start of the year, January all the way to April, this period was acting as what we call a resistance, right? Because price cannot break above this level. Eventually, it managed to break above it. From here to here, about 1 month or so, it tested this 160 as a support, right? And eventually, we can see that price moved on even higher and found a new higher support about $2.40, right? So that tells us that over a period of like 6 to 8 months, right, this particular stock has managed to find new higher support, and that tells you that buyers are willing to buy at higher or more expensive prices, right? So that's also a good sign to reiterate and reaffirm that the uptrend actually still got power because buyers are still willing to buy at more expensive price, right? So we know that immediate support I would say around this $2.40, right? Because previously, as you can see, July, it went up all the way to about this $3.20, $3.20. We start to see selling pressure return and push the price back down, right? And this was where buyers actually returned near the $2.40 to about $2.60, right? And that is what we usually spot it as a support zone, right? Because I could be drawing at 240, maybe Jia Yi will draw at maybe about 245, maybe Joey draw at like 250, right? So the thing is that it will always still be around that zone. There's not a particular point, but it's always a zone, right? And that is the support zone that we are looking at, right? In terms of the current price. And in terms of resistance, just now like what I mentioned, price somewhere in June, end of June, start of July, went up all the way to $3, test the $3 psychological level, $3.20. Sellers starts to come back. This is one time, right? Somewhere at end of June to start of July. Very recently, I think past 2 weeks as well, that was where we started to see profit taking also return, right? So I would know that I would draw my resistance around this $3.20. But again, resistance is also a zone, right? Because $3, we do know that $3 is a psychological level. And previously, we have already seen sellers started to come back near this $3, right? Doesn't have to touch the 320, but I mean here it did it did touch the 320. But around $3 to 320, I think that's where potentially, if prices were to head back up to this level, I would not be surprised if we start to see sellers coming back in again, right? So now we know that there's a support, there's a resistance. We know that the uptrend is actually still strong, right? The uptrend is actually still strong based on moving average. We know that there's 2 1GT bullish signal. So in that sense, you know that actually it is not too much of a concern yet, right? Because at least I'm not seeing a 20 days moving average pointing down. I'm not seeing a 1GT bearish signal, right? So that is something, CJ, maybe you want to take note of some of these levels, right? Whether you say, is it time to actually cut loss now? I think not exactly that, because now you see, now price at 280. You are a bit not here, not there, right? Because resistance around this 320, support around this 240, and you say you want to cut loss here, but we know that the uptrend is actually still okay, right? The short-term, long-term 1GT bullish signal actually still okay, right? So where potentially then we might want to take action or maybe think about cutting loss, one of the ways is if prices were to break below support, right? Because if it breaks below support, it just tells us that more selling pressure has returned. The bears are winning, right? And that is potentially if prices come back down, retrace this $2.40. If it test, cannot hold and break below, then that is very likely perhaps, I don't know whether when you enter, do you have a stop loss plan in place? By right, you should have a stop loss plan in place, right? Because that is the whole crucial thing about risk management, managing your downside, right? So maybe 240, below 240, that is where perhaps you may want to consider to think about setting your stop loss plan. I'm not too sure what is your position sizing as well, how big of a size you buy, right? So that is something that maybe below the $2.40, set some price alert, right? To notify yourself and to tell yourself that, maybe if it's break below the 240, you might want to consider to think about reducing exposure, because maybe if your position is too big, right, at least think about reducing exposure rather than holding on to the losses and let it be bigger and bigger while you're not doing anything, right? So that is one of the levels, right, that you can take note of about 240, right? But if prices were to head back up to this $3.20, I would say, is it okay to actually take profits? Definitely it's okay to take profits as well. Nothing wrong to take profits. But taking profits, I would say that perhaps don't think about taking the full profits, right? Half a position, 1/3 of your position, partial profits. That's fine. Why? Because the uptrend is actually still very much intact, right? And if prices is able to break and hold above these 320, then what's the next upside target, right? That is what we can use based on the projection like so. And you can actually project it out. And you can take a look, right here. Next projection based on the upside target, the projection right over here, right? You can see is towards psychological level $4, right? And $4, that could be where potential selling pressure can come back again, because number one is also a psychological level, right? And number two is based on the range that it was trading since June, right over here projected up, right? So those are some of the levels, right, that CJ perhaps you can think about, take note of. 320, near the 320, $3.20 resistance zone, right? Around the 240 to about the 260, that is where potential buyers actually returned previously, right? But if we know that buyers cannot come back near that support zone and it breaks below, then that is where you maybe want to be a bit more cautious, do something about it, right? Okay, So CJ, I hope that helps to give you something to think about so that you can, firm up your trading plan as well. Okay, so that would be for PCT partners. I hope that helps. I'll pass the time back over to Joey to cover the next Singapore stock.
All right, thank you so much, Z. All right, so very good analysis. Now let's move on to the next one, okay? And I think, guys, we have like more than 50, 60 over stocks comments. We'll do our best, guys. We'll do our best, but thank you so much for, just typing the chat, giving us a chance to cover up. I hope you understand that we possibly cannot cover 50, 60 over stocks, right? So we do our best. We try to cover like 10 to 15 like that, all right? Okay, now let's move on to the next one. And that would be by Joel Ng. All right. Is it a good time to consider some UOB? Okay. Since its price corrected from its high, looks like uptrend, but prices are down lately. All right. Let's find out. Is it a good time to buy? All right. What could be a good support level whereby it could look really attractive? All right. So this is UOB. So I would say that among the three Singapore banks, right? Among the three Singapore banks, well, DBS is seen as a leader, right? $75 over dollars, OCBC $30 plus, right? A bit more stable. They're both, I would say, much consistent, strong, right? And they don't really pull back that much. But for UOB, well, it seems like when we do get a bearish signal, all right, that's where things just look a bit more shaky. You can pull back a little bit before finding stability, and then reversing back up again, right? So you can see, okay, maybe let me just show you, since you're looking at UOB, right? So we just talk about OCBC very clearly, very quickly. You can see for OCBC, just a bit of a comparison, right? OCBC, you can see, right? No bearish signal, pump, two bullish signals from like $22, it go all the way until $30.85 right now, right? Looks good. There is no bearish signal, right? So for OCBC, continue, I think, it still looks pretty strong. Above 30, the range is probably $30 to $31.50, right? Short-term trend is up as well. For DBS, since we are looking at the banks, let's take a look at it, right? Same thing, long-term trend is up, short-term trend is up. We got bullish signal in play since like June, still looking strong. No bearish red color signal. I think the range is like $75 to $77. So I think OCBC and DBS, they are just resting sideways. They are consolidating, right? Which is okay, as I say, right? That's why the STI is also moving a little bit sideways, right? So DBS, OCBC, I would say among the three Singapore banks, they are the two strongest. A bit more, a bit more strength. Whenever any dips, you start to see buying pressure coming back. I think that's where DBS and OCBC is holding up quite well. So those are the two that you can focus on as well. But let's move on to UOB. All right. So, okay. So just take note on DBS range is 75 to 77. Let's move on to UOB right now and see what's the difference. So for UOB, you can see that it's a bit different because for DBS and OCBC, there will no red 1 GT bearish signal. They are just moving sideways, resting. The bullish signals that got triggered in June, July, still in play, no issue, right? But for UOB, we actually got what we call a 1 GT bearish signal popping out, right? So is it a good time to get in, right? Is the uptrend up? Is the uptrend intact? All right, prices are down lately as well. Okay, so what could be a good entry price? So I'll say that normally when we get a bearish signal, like over here, you can see, right? When we get a bearish signal, we just want to be a bit more cautious. All right, want to be a bit more patient. We don't want to rush to get it. All right, why? Because you can see when we get a bearish signal and the short-term trend turns down. Look at the green line. It turns down. That was in February. Same thing. Look at the green line now. It turns down as well since the past 1 week plus, right? Since the past 1-2 weeks, you see green line is turning down, right? So it just shows that some selling pressure is back. The short-term trend is down. We also got a 1 GT bearish signal, right? So normally we want to see some stability. We want to see a good support forming, all right, potentially forming. We want to see maybe the green line flattened out, right? Don't need to point up, right? Point up can be another thing like that. That one later than talk, right? But at least you don't point down. Does it make sense? All right. So we want to see that. So what could be a good support level whereby I think it could look really, really attractive to get in on UOB as well? Well, I think this is a very good support level, all right? Right away here, the $38. So 38 was a resistance previously in January. We touched 2 times. February, same thing in June. We touched, we're below 38. But what happens when we broke 38? all the way up. Now it seems like it is coming back down again, right? So this 38 will be a very strong support level for UOB. I'm not saying that it will go to 38. Now it's like $40.47, right? But what I'm saying is that if it really can go to 38 plus, 38, 39, around here, then it will be really very attractive. It will be really, really very attractive, right? But what we're seeing right now is that it seems like $40. So $40 is what we call a psychological support level. All right, that's where it is kind of like a psychological, level whereby people might want to buy, right? So you see, it's only like 2-3 days, but today we are $40.47. In fact, we went to like below 40 and then we rebound from 40, right? So seems like $40 is a bit of a support that have came out. Not even 38, not even 38, right? But the thing is this, right? As I said, we got a bearish signal. The green line is still pointing down. So if you want, we normally don't want to rush to get in, but if you really want to get in a little bit, on here and there, $40 could be where you could, just load up a little bit, right? But just take note, right? If the $40 were to break down, or the $40 were to give way, we can see more selling, right? All the way towards that 38, right? So it's only like 2 or 3 days, so nobody can tell whether the $40 is holding, right? But if by next week we still see, prices rebounding, and we stay above 40, right? 1-2 weeks later we are still above 40, then this green line also start to like flatten out, right? Okay, fine. Then maybe $40 is a support, 38 a bit too low already, Make sense? All right. But if the $40 breaks down and the green line never flatten out and the green line starts to go down even more, and then be a bit more patient again, Right? That is where I think the $38 can really be coming, right? 38 to 39. That looks really beautiful. I think that looks very attractive to really start to load up to ride that potential reversal, or maybe even to wait for what we call a 1GT bullish signal coming out. So that would be another very powerful confirmation that we actually said to ride the reversal. Okay, you can see for yourself. Once we get a 1GT bullish signal, so you can see previously, right, in February, we got a red one, right, then went down, then moved sideways, a bit boring. But once the green 1GT bullish signal gets triggered, what happens? All the way up, right? So the question is that, has it appeared yet? Over here or here or here. Haven't yet. I also don't know when it appeared, right? But once it appeared, then we will know. Make sense? That is where I think it will be a very powerful confirmation to really get in, to ride the reversal, especially if the short-term trend starts to turn back up, the green line turns back up, the support that we talk about, whether 40 or whether 38 forms, that would be another confirmation as well, right? But you can see every time you get bullish signals, that was in like December as well last year, we got 2, all the way up. All right, so that's what we are seeking for in terms of a good potential entry. Haven't yet, all right? I think there could still be a bit of weakness. We are, kind of like rebounding from $40, but we need a bit more time to tell if the $40 support is indeed holding, right? It's indeed holding, right? So I would say that this is UOB. It can look really attractive, right? It can look really attractive if it does dip a little bit towards the 38 to 39 level, right? So I hope that answers your questions, right? Is it a good time to accumulate some UOB since its price corrected? Well, if you want, you can, for the longer term, you want to try getting some near $40, you can, but just be a bit more aware that if the $40 were to give way, take note that short-term selling can happen towards 38 to 39. I think that's where it looks, have some bullets then, right? Don't all in. After that, you go down, you cannot, nothing really, cannot get in, right? So some on dips if you want, but if it stabilizes above 40, good, that's where you can load up more, right? If not, then I would say monitor a bit first, be a bit more patient till we get a bit more confirmations for some signs of a reversal, all right? Like a bullish signal just popping up, over the next 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. Okay, so that is for UOB. Okay, so let me pass on the mic to Choy to cover the next Singapore stock. Choy?
All right, thank you, Joey. So yeah, I think I agree with Joey. Patience is very important, especially in when we look at the stock market. We always look at where's the support, where's the resistance. We don't want to rush in because we want to make sure that we are at least on the right side of the trend, and also make sure that we have a higher probability of a winning trade. So yeah, so let me just show my screen. Okay, so I'll be covering on the next counter, which on Wilmar. I think Sherry was asking do you think Wilmar will break $4? I have 10 lots of 4.40 bought many years ago. So I think you actually bought it. Seems like when I was just looking through, maybe back then I think 4.40 might be 2021. I'm not too sure, was it back then, or how long have you been holding? And I think someone else also was asking about Wilmar. Just let me, yeah. I think EO F34, which is Wilmar, no, bought at 3.80. So what is the resistance? So maybe let us just look at Wilmar, how has it been, and I think what are the support and resistance level that we want to look at. So I think Wilmar, I think just last year when we look at, I think this was one of the counter we actually previously looking at as well. I think Wilmar previously, if you look at it just last year November, I think 320 was a resistance back then. We actually identified prices were not able to break above this level, came back down to test around that $3 psychological support level, or even at 290 level. And afterwards, it was able to hold. And start of the year, it started to show more strength. Moving averages started to show more good signs, where we see that the 100 days, the 200 days, all were pointing up. And I think after it rebounded from that 290 level at the start of the year, the 20 days moving averages also started to point up. One GT bullish signal appeared, another one GT bullish signal appeared after it broke above this 320 level. So you see that the 1 GT bullish signal appear, indicating that there's more buying pressure. Buyers are coming in to push the price up. After it broke above that 320, you can see the prices actually went up close to about 20%. I think for within that past 3 months, from January to April, it went up close to the 390 resistance and came back down to test at 350. So I would say 350 actually was previously a support. We can actually identify that 350 was a resistance back in Feb, broke above, came down to test this level quite a few times, here, and it couldn't break above, it couldn't stay above, came back down to test at 320 again. I think on this day, you can see that actually prices gapped down below that 320, but buyers actually pushed back up the price above that 320. So I would say 320 is actually quite a good support level that we actually look at based on here. And afterwards, for that, I think that 2-3 weeks, prices actually came below that 320, and afterwards, buyers pushed back the price back up to 350 again. So I would say for Wilmar wise, I think it's currently looking at kind of trading between that 350 range to that 390 range. You can see that 390 actually is quite a strong resistance. Previously, back in around March, April, it was actually near the 390 level. Prices couldn't break above, came back down to test quite a few support, went back up again. I think just recently, you can also see that I think for the past mid of July to actually until now, I think around mid of August, it actually was kept under that 390 level. Couldn't break above this level. Quite a strong resistance. I'd be pretty sure you guys will agree with me that it's actually quite a strong resistance. And I think afterwards, just in August, the earnings came out, and actually there was quite a bearish candlestick. So prices came back down to test that 350 level again. So I would say for Wilmar wise, if you were to look at the trend wise, 100 days and 200 days is still kind of pointing up, just that the 20 days actually is already showing some weakness. But overall, the long term is still there, and it's kind of trading between that 350 to that 390 range. So I think let me just pull out. I think for Sherry, I think you mentioned you bought it around 440 quite a while back. I think 440, along the way you might have collected dividends, so your price for this Wilmar might be slightly lower, but I would say 390 might be a key resistance that you might want to monitor, or even at $4 psychological level. I agree with you. I don't know whether Wilmar will break above $4 or not. I mean, I hope it breaks so that at least there's more strength. But I would say 390 currently, you can see that actually is quite a strong resistance. Maybe if you want, you can set alert like what I did, set alert above 393 or 390, so that once it break above this 390 level, it could be a sign that there might be more upside for this Wilmar. But of course, if you are holding for so long and you're not too sure whether you break above this 390 or even at $4, maybe if you want, you can reduce some exposure around that 390 level. Because previously along the way, you might have collected dividends and you might want to just get out of Wilmar, reduce some exposure. Nothing wrong with that. Near a resistance, you can also do that. 390 might be a level that you can take some profit or reduce exposure. And maybe if you want, 350 might be a key support level that you want to monitor. If prices start to break below that 350 and start to show more weakness again, maybe you might not want to hold even longer. I don't know how many more years you want to hold on to, but I think for Wilmar, for now, I would say 350 to 390 might be the range that you want to monitor. If prices are able to break above the 390, I believe there could be a more upside towards this counter. And if you were to turn on that trailing support and resistance, you can see that the trailing resistance currently is around that 397. So if prices are able to break above the 390 or even at $4, I would say there will actually be more upside for this Wilmar. And for those who are looking to enter, you can set alert around at 390 or even at $4. Maybe that's when you can look to enter for Wilmar. But for those who actually have some position, maybe have a trading plan. 390 is a resistance. Maybe if you want to reduce exposure around 390, nothing wrong with that. And I think EO are asking about where's the resistance. I would say for Wilmar, 390, like what I mentioned, is quite a strong resistance. I think for that, maybe you want to monitor, maybe you enter at 380, not sure, was it before the dividends or after the dividends? But I would say 380 might be quite close to a resistance level. Usually won't recommend that. Best is to actually enter nearer to a support level. So hopefully that's give you a clarity on Wilmar and how the trend is like and what are some of the things that you could do for Wilmar. Hopefully this gives you a clarity on Wilmar. Yeah, if not, I'll pass on my time to Z to cover the next stock.
All right, thanks, Jia. Okay, so the next stock that I have over here would be by Iris, right? And the next stock would be Joe Energy. Iris is saying, bought Joe Energy at high price, 0.56. Should I cut loss or continue holding, right? Okay, so let's take a look at Joe Energy now, right? Price, I think trading about 0.525. You say you bought at 0.560. So actually, when I look back at the chart, right, since 2026 at the start of the year, price have touched this 0.560 multiple times, right? So I'm not too sure where you actually bought at 0.560. Was it here? Was it here? Was it here? Was it here? Because the depending on where you buy it at, right? I mean, definitely you have gone through multiple emotions lah. If you have bought it here, it went all the way up to 65 cents, never take profit. Wow, sian. Now go back down, become loss, right? But then if you have bought it here, it went all the way to 44 cents, right? Then confirm here, you'll feel right, very kanchong, right? Very nervous, like, hey, but they never do anything. Then this is where you're holding it. So that's the reason why sometimes when we think about buying, right, the whole rationale is we are thinking about buying, number one, when the uptrend is strong, right? And also the second thing that we want to think about is where are we buying it? Are we buying near resistance? Are we buying near support? So those are the things that we also want to keep a watch for when we are thinking about buying, right? So now price is at about 0.525, right? And you're holding at 0.560. Then let's take a look at where are the support level, right? Because support level will be then important is because if let's say the support level cannot hold above and it breaks below, selling pressure come back, you are already seeing it in losses, and you know that buyers are not coming back into support prices, right? Then is that where you want to take some action, reduce some exposure? That is what we are thinking of at this point in time, right? So right now for Joe Energy, you can see that right over here, right around this 50 cents I've drawn like a support level, right? 50 cents psychological level, right? And if you were to look back based on the past price action, definitely here, October to November, testing as a resistance. Here, break above this 50 cents, right? Testing as a support. Subsequently, here, break down again. Very extremely long bearish candlestick, 1 GT bearish signal come out. Break below this 50 cents, held below this 50 cents from May all the way to July, right? And then this is where we are at, right? And over the past 1 month, I think starting from July, right? August here also testing, right? So I would say that 50 cents definitely is a very crucial support, right? That you want to keep a watch for and set some price alert lah. Because if we do know that if prices is unable to hold above this 50 cents upon being tested, right? Then potentially, what's the downside we are looking towards? I think the downside we are looking towards if 50 cents is unable to hold will be, you see, towards the previous support around this 44 cents. But I'm not saying that it will definitely go there lah, right? But I'm saying that if the 50 cents level is broken, the probability of it heading back towards the next support definitely will be higher, right? Especially so now that when we look at the trend, when we look at the moving average, what we see is in terms of the moving average, right? You can see everything, the green line, red line, blue line, it's kind of like just flattening out, right? It's tapering out, it's flattening out. It is not generally a typical uptrend scenario whereby we want to watch out for, whereby you see the green head up, red head up, blue head up, everything pointing up. But now this is not the case, right? Now everything is flattening out. And if at any point in time you also start to see whereby the moving average start to show signs of weakness, whereby it starts to point down, that is also when you also want to think about is the trend still looking okay? Because if the moving average starts to point down, right, it also shows that there is some weakness definitely returning, right? And if it does break below this 50 cents, I think very likely the 20 days moving average maybe might not even consolidate sideways or move sideways. It might also firstly start to show signs of it pointing out, and that's where perhaps you might want to think about, reducing some exposure, cutting losses depending on your position sizing as well, right? And you bought at 56, right? 0.56. And 0.56 are exactly right over here. You can see it is where the resistance zone is at. Why? Based on past price action, right here. Can you see this? This is where selling pressure is present, right? You can see a very long upper shadow, and that tells us that during the trading session, when price head up to 0.560, even to 0.565, sellers place their sell order there, push the price all the way down. And on this very day, it actually closed even lower than it actually opened, right? And subsequently here, tested again, right? Unable to break above it. Here, eventually, yes, it did break above with a 1GT bullish signal, bullish candlestick, great, right? But here, once again, earnings result came out, unable to hold, market didn't like what it hears, what it sees, broke down, right? And this 56 cents tested again as a resistance, right? So I'm not too sure where you actually bought it at, but typically that's the whole rationale and as to why we try not to position ourselves for entry or buy near resistance is because we know that previously that was where selling pressure can come back, right? And that is why sometimes when people buy a resistance, they will typically tend to say things like, hey, I buy already immediately, next day, next 2-3 days, the price actually come down. Every time I buy, every time it come down. Maybe that is the reason why, because it could be you're buying near resistance zone, right? And that is why we try to aim and look for position of entry near support zones instead, right? But for your case, because now since you're sitting on losses, right, you're sitting on some small losses, that is where we want to think about how to actually manage our downside, right? Especially so knowing where the supports are at. If the support is broken, that's where perhaps you want to take some action. Okay, but if prices, if it consolidates sideways, and it managed to break and hold above the 56 cents, then the potential upside could be back towards the 65 cents, which was the previous high. This was the resistance, right? But first thing first, it has to be able to break and hold above the 56 first, Plus, it will be even better if we start to see the 20 days moving average starts to point up and go up beyond the red and the blue line, right? And if there's another 1GT bullish signal come out, that gives you another layer of confirmation, right? But it doesn't mean that right now, if price go back now to this support zone, immediately I think about buying or adding more position. No, why? It's because we do know at this point in time, the moving average, right, it is just kind of moving sideways. It is not even in an uptrend. And we only want to think about buying on strength, right? So you can see that it is an accumulation of different things, right? A confluence of factors that we want to look out for. Okay, Iris, I hope that gives you some levels to take note of. Set some price alerts on your trading view, monitor some of the levels, right? Especially this 50 cents support zone. Okay, so that would be for Joe Energy. I hope that helps. I'll pass the time back over to Joey to cover the next Singapore stock.
All right, okay, very good one on Joe Energy. Let's move on to the next one, right? Let's see. I think we have okay, Chris is here, right? Chris is here. Got in Vicom. Okay, let me just go to share my screen, right? I think this is the stock right over here. Thanks for giving us a bit of context. Chris is here. Got in Vicom, V-I-C-O-M, Vicom. I think the code is WJP, right? After the second 1GT came out. So I believe, Chris, you have our 1GT indicator as well, all right? The fact that you talk about the signal, right? Okay, so second one came out, you got in. But so far, it didn't gain back the momentum anymore. Would here to hear your opinion on this and stop loss price to set, right? So let me just go to do it very quickly. So this is the 1GT Pro indicator that you have, Chris. I have it as well, same. Okay, let's turn it on. So you mentioned that you got in after the second 1GT came out. Not bad, what? All right, so we got the first one, all right, right over here that came out last year in April. Look at this, right? First 1GT bullish signal. The second one came out. So I think you got in over here. Is it maybe somewhere over here? Maybe about 160. Is it correct? Now it's $1.83. Not too bad. I think in fact, after the second one, we got the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, all right? And it looks pretty good. So I think for this stock, right, it's definitely one of the stock whereby you guys can put in your watch list as well, okay? I think the long-term trend is up, very slow and steady. We have no bearish signal since like more than a year back already, all right? More than a year back. It's a very gradual, maybe a bit slow, but at least in a very steady, gradual kind of uptrend. All right. So back to your question, Chris. So far it didn't gain back the momentum. I think not too bad. I mean, when you got in over here 160, we actually push up a little bit. I mean, if we look at it from like the very first signal that came out in April last year, all the way to now, 46%, 46% in about 1.5 years. Okay, right? 46%. Of course, you got in a bit higher over here. So maybe you're sitting on gains like 14%, all right, 14%, which is still okay, all right? I mean, I think not saying that it is weak and stuff. I think it still looks pretty good, right? Because you mentioned that it didn't gain back the momentum anymore. I think the momentum is still there because all this while it has been a bit slow and steady, so there's not much momentum to gain back because it was already slow and steady all this while, all right? So pretty much holding quite well. I think back to your question, what is the stop loss price to set? So I would say that for this, right? How we can trade counters like this, whereby it's in a very steady uptrend. Obviously, there's no rate 1GT bearish signal. All right, we could actually turn on this trailing support level. Okay, let me just go ahead to remove this and turn on this right very quickly. There we go. All right, so you can see that when the bullish signal popped out, right? So in this case, right, the long-term trend is up, the short-term trend. Very quickly, we can turn on the green line. You can see the green 20 days moving average line was like flat, down a bit, up. Now it's slightly pointing up. So short-term trend is up as well. Not too bad. All the trend indicators are aligned. Long-term, short-term, both up, right? Are we above the trailing support level that has followed it since like April last year? Yes, indeed, right? Follow, up, follow. And every time we go near it, you can see that's where we push away from the trailing support. And we push higher. Look at this, right? That was where we were above the trailing support. We push away. We are near it. We push away. We are near it. We push away. All right. So a trailing support is it's a very powerful feature that we kind of like use, that we turn on just to get that added confirmation. Are we above it? We are above it. That is a good thing, right? Chill. All right. Relax. Right. Let it hopefully move up some more. All right. So in this case, what we could do is that we could put, while allowing it to move up more. So what you could do, Chris, is that you could put a stop loss, all right, below the trailing support level. So let's say you got in right over here, right? $1.60, right? I believe you say the second one, so it should be right over here. You could have a stop loss maybe below the trailing support right over here, all right? Something like this, all right? So you got in over here, you put a stop loss below the trailing support just to protect the downside in case we go below the trailing support. As I say, it's a bit weaker, we would have a bearish signal, right? But no, right? So far, so good. We're still above it. The trailing support move up, then you follow. All right, now move up a bit more, you follow some more. All right, move up some more. You can see the past 1-2 days start to move up, you follow some more. So you could put a stop loss. Let's say now trailing support is around 176, right? You could put a stop loss below the trailing support, maybe 173, maybe 172, right? Just to give it a bit of allowance, give it a bit of some space as well below the trailing support, right? In case we go below it, well, you get out, you still make money. All right. If the trailing support were to go even higher, right? Like now it's like that. But let's say if we break the $1.85, we go to $1.95, $2, right? I can tell you this trailing support will follow it to go even higher. Then you continue to shift your stop loss upwards. Same thing, still below the trailing support. So when you do that, right, there's no emotions, right? It's like playing a game like that, right? It goes higher, you follow, you make even more money. But at the same time, you also don't want to take profit too fast, right? Because you sell already, then after you go up higher, wasted, sell already, right? So you also want to maximize your profit. So it still looks good. So let it go up more. But while letting it go up more, you take steps to protect your profit so that that profits will never become a loss. Does it make sense so far? All right, Ken. So that is for Vicom. I hope that helps. I hope that helps. That is pretty much, I think, this is what you're asking, right? So what's the stop loss price to set? For now, you can put it like 174, 173 just to protect it. If it goes even higher, you can shift it higher following the trailing support level. All right. And I want to share one thing, guys. What happens is that I've prepared kind of like a mini assessment. So the link is right in the chat. If you guys want to find out a little bit more. So, all this while we've been talking about the one good trend strategy. And I realized that for most people, right, some of the key reasons why they do not do well in the stock market is due to four main key factors, right? What are the four main key factors? I've prepared a little assessment. The link is right in the chat. Go ahead to click on the link in the chat. This is what I call like a bottleneck, kind of like to find out the number one bottleneck, right, that a lot of people are facing. So the link is right in the chat, all right? Let me just go ahead to show you what I mean, right? So once you click on the link in the chat, you come to this page, right? Let me just show you right over here. You come to this page, something like this, right? Okay, here. I just want to do a quick shout out because something that I was working on now, right? So I thought, hey, let's do a little assessment there, whereby anybody who take this assessment, they're able to find out what is their number one trading bottleneck that is holding them back, that is not allowing them to see results, that's causing them losses, that's seeing their profits very little, right? What is that number one thing, right? So I prepared this little assessment. The link is right in the chat. When you click, you come to this page. Later you can do it. But basically, most traders assume that they need a better stock tip. They need some, powerful, indicator, or, a lot of things here and there, right? Opinions, everything, right? But the real issue is usually somewhere else, right? And just by answering these 12 quick questions, for sure, I can tell you that you will find out what is your number one trading gap, all right, or your number one trading bottleneck. And I'll give you some solutions as to what you can do to really improve as well, right? So click on the link in the chat. You come to this page, only 3 minutes, 3 minutes. You can do it later, all right? It's something that I just worked on. I thought just to share with you guys over here. So find my number one bottleneck. You can go to the first questions. Which market do you trade? Singapore stock, whatever, right? A couple of questions, total 2-3 minutes, done, all right? And that's where I think you'll get a bit more clarity on what is the thing that you want to work on. All right? So that is pretty much the quiz that I just prepared, all right? Over the past 1 week, I thought just to share with you guys. Hopefully, it helps you. So the link is right in the chat. Okay, go ahead to check it out. I think it'll be quite fun to find out a bit more on what you can improve on. Okay, so now let me pass on the mic to Jia Yi to cover the next Singapore stock. Jia Yi, yours.
All right, thank you, Joey. So so for those who are interested, you can just click on the link and find out more and just try it out. Since it's just a 3 minutes, nothing wrong. Just 3 minutes, very fast one. Okay, the next stock that I'll be covering on actually is on Singtel. Let me just show my screen. Okay, I think Lillian, hopefully good morning, can cover Singtel. Should hold or sell as bought at 4:30. Not too sure you're still here or not, but hopefully you're still here. I think for Singtel wise, previously, if you look at it, now I think this counter has been showing strength, I think since last year. But I think after the CPF discounted shares, and I think some weakness in this counter, it started to show more weakness. But maybe let's look at how is Singtel now. So I think if you were to zoom in, just zoom out a bit, just on like since last year August maybe, I think it previously was kept under this $4 psychological level. Prices went above in last year August, went above that 440. After that, show more strength, went up to 480, come back down to 440 again. Test this level, break above, and show more strength. So I think just if you were to look at it, just this year April, the first thing is 1 GT bearish signal appeared. It broke below that 480 support level, turned into a resistance, came back down to test that 440 level, went back up to 480 again, couldn't stay above, came back down 440, break below that 440 again, showing more weakness. And I think previously, if you look at it, long-term wise was showing strength. 100 days, 200 days was pointing up. But I think just recently, if you look at it, since around mid of the year, first thing we notice is actually the 20 days started to show more weakness. Cross below that 100 days, and that 100 days, I think just this just recently actually crossed below as well. No, actually it's not really a good sign for Singtel. I'll say if it crossed below, it shows that no, midterm is showing some weakness, 100 days is showing some weakness, 200 days might continue to show weakness as well. But if you were to look at it, just recently it actually stayed above this $4 in June, went above that 440 again, came back down, and I think just recently we to look at it today, I think currently it's still staying above this 440 level. So it could be a sign that there might be some reversal. I wouldn't know how Singtel will play out for the next few weeks or next few months, but I'll say 440 might be a support level that we want to look at. Previously was a resistance. If you look at it in June, prices was kept under this level, tested quite a few times. It broke above, couldn't stay above. Just recently went up again above that 440 level. So I think 440 might be a support that we want to look at for Singtel. I think if prices are able to stay above these and the moving averages start to show more strength again, first thing is 20 days start to show more strength, 100 days might flatten and start to point up. Maybe by then you see that all three moving averages started to point up and prices are starting to show more strength again, go closer to that 480. That could be a sign that there might be more buyers coming back in to push the price up again. So I would say for now, if you have to look at it, 440 might be a support that we want to look at. I think Lilian, you bought it around that 430. Not too sure when you bought it at 430. Was it just recently when you see the 1GT bullish signal, or is it when you bought it very long time ago, or just in this period? Yeah, but I would say 440 might be a support that you want to closely monitor. Currently, sitting on some profit. Maybe if prices start to show more weakness, you might want to get up, but it depends on your trading plan and how much of a position you have entered for Singtel. But I'll say for the Singtel wise, if you look at it, it's kind of showing some strength in terms of the short term. 440 is a support, and if prices are able to hold for the next few weeks, that could be a sign that there might be some reversal. And if first thing is, if you notice that the 100 days start to flatten and start to point up, maybe that could be a sign that that's a good sign for Singtel that there might be more strength again building into this counter. But I'll say 440 is a support that you want to closely monitor, and the next resistance might be that 480 level that you want to look at. So I think that's a quick one on Singtel. Hopefully, whether you should hold or sell, I'll say for now, maybe you still can hold on since it's still well supported above that 440 and you are still on some profit. But if it start to show more weakness and break below that 440, maybe you might want to just secure your profit and wait for more confirmation before you re-enter for this Singtel. So I think that's a quick one on Singtel. Hopefully that gives you more clarity on Singtel. If not, I'll pass on my time to Z to cover the next stock.
All right, thanks, Jai. Okay, let me just change my screen over here. The next stock that I'll be covering, right, will be this stock called Olam, because I see from the comments quite a lot of you guys are asking about Olam. Okay, wait, let me just find the comment. Okay, I think the first one here was like Edward's asking Olam down, what's happening, right? Then after that, there is Pinky. Pinky also asking about bought Olam at about $1.30. Should hold or sell? There is 1GT down. Okay. Okay, then Vinpo also asking about Olam, right? Morning following the 1GT green alert for Olam on 24th July. Well, they are very detailed. 24th July, 1GT bullish signal right here. So Vinpo actually got the indicator as well, right? So that's why he's able to see. So for those of you guys who also want to see the signals, same like how we actually see, you can actually test drive it for free, right? Free for 14 days. The link is in the chat, right? So Vinpo also say prices drop quickly 1 week later, showing 2 red GT now. Any fundamentals driving this quick drop? Okay, then after that, Joe also asking, hi, bought Olam at 1.35. Today going down to 1.08, right? And then, yeah, okay, then after that, you're asking, should I hold on or cut loss, right? And let me see, is there any more about Olam? Let's see. Did I miss out any? Okay. Aoyong Olam bought at 1.29. Today is 1.08. Okay, so let's talk about Olam. And then one more. I think Raju also asking about Olam. Bought Olam at 1.29. Advice to sell or to hold, right? So I think a lot of you guys over here, right, is asking about Olam because you're holding on to Olam, and now because the price have actually dipped, right, and you are thinking, hey, should I continue to hold on? What should I do about it, right? At least I think from what I see in the chat, nobody is really asking about buying Olam now, lah, right? More of all of you guys here is holding on to Olam, but thinking about what should you actually do next, right? So first thing first, I think today we are actually seeing this gap down, right? I think it's also because of this, right? There's also a dividends lah that's being today is the X date, right? And you can see that the dividend amount is 0.07, and usually on X date the price will actually adjust downwards, right? So you can see that today price actually opened around let me see, price opened around 1.14 and adjusted downward based on the 7 cents dividend. It's about 1.07, 1.08 lah. This is where we are at, right? But by the way, just to let you guys know, right, because now it is still trading, it is still moving, and today is the X date, right? So tomorrow once you know the market actually close, make sure to go and take a look at the chart again, and to ensure that your chart over here is actually adjusted for data dividend lah, because it will actually the chart will actually adjust accordingly to take into account of the dividend. Okay, because right now we do see that there's a gap down. After when market close tomorrow, make sure to go and double check your chart and to make sure that it's adjusted for dividend. All right, but bearing that aside, right, I mean, a lot of you guys have also been talking about the signals, right? Which is the 1 GT bearish signal, which you guys are absolutely right? We do see 1 GT bearish signal that is actually playing out. There's no bullish signal, right? There's a bearish signal, right? So that is something that, I mean, it should already alert you at the back of your mind that, hey, not just one, but two, right? And we always say that when a bearish signal appears, it doesn't mean that the stock will crash, right? But it just tells us that there is more selling pressure returning to this particular stock, right? And that is what we have been seeing, right? I mean, taking aside today the dividend that is given lah, because today dividend give, the price actually adjust downward. But over the past 1 month, you know, since like July to, I mean, as of yesterday, right, you can see that price have been retracing and pulling back as well, right? And on top of that, we do see the 20 days moving average, right? Here, the short term has actually started to point down, right? It has started to point down, right? And I think just now, I think who was it? Asking about whether there is any fundamental change. Let me see. I cannot find the comment now, but I think someone was asking, right? I think that is partly also due to the earnings as well, right? That's partly also due to the earnings, right? You can see that the earnings actually came out not too long ago, somewhere, I think last week. Yeah, and I mean, of course, on the earnings day, you can see that price have also gapped down very drastically, right? The market didn't really like what it sees, right? And that could also be the reason why we are seeing more weakness in this particular stock, on top of today actually give out dividend. And by the way, for those of you guys who have been holding on to this stock prior to the X date, definitely you will be receiving the dividends. But for those of you who are buying on the X date and then beyond the X date, that one don't have dividends, okay? Just FYI. Okay, so right now we know that there is short-term weakness, right? We have 2 bearish signal that is coming back in. Then, of course, I also want to take note of where's the support, where's the resistance, again, going back to the basics, right? Because I want to know where are the buyers returning, where are the selling coming back, and things like that, right? To actually know what potentially could we be actually doing about it, right? So right now, you can see that over here, right? Actually, I've drawn one level right here, about $1.10, right? Can you see this $1.10? Previously, back in July to August, right? This level was actually tested as a resistance, and ever since then, price actually kept below this $1.10 until somewhere in May this year. Price managed to break above it, right? And here, you can see that buyers are coming in to support and push the price all the way up on this very day. Selling pressure come down, sell. But buyers came in to push the price all the way back up, resulting in this long upper shadow as well. So from May all the way to about, to today, right? This $1.10 was acting as what we call a support level, right? But now, as of now, I think price is trading below this $1.10. I'm not sure whether at the end of the day will price actually close back above, whether will buyers actually return. I'm not sure, right? But I do know that definitely this $1.10 right now at this point in time, is it below it? Yes, right. It is below this $1.10, and this would be one of the levels that I want to watch for, whether over the next week or so, can price actually reclaim back above this $1.10. I think that's one thing lah. That's one thing definitely that you want to watch out for, right? And the second thing is whether this 20 days moving average, right, does it still continuing to show weakness, right? Whether does it still continue to point downwards, or will it actually flatten out once it actually regain stabilization, right? When price is able to hold back above this $1.10. That's one of the things that we want to watch out for, because short-term weakness, can it continue to go down? Definitely, right? When does the short-term weakness end? I don't know, right? If it close below this $1.10 and continue heading down, very likely this 20 days moving average will continue to head downwards. And will there be another 1 GD bearish signal? It could be, right? If it breaks another support level, definitely we might see another 1 GD bearish signal. And of course, based on what I see, right, a lot of you guys actually bought at about $1.10, $1, I think around this zone, based on what I see in the comments, right? A lot of you guys bought around 1.29, 1.30, 1.35, this area, right? Of course, taking into account the dividends that you have taken, right, you have received, right? When we see weakness in the stock, when we see short-term weakness coming back, we see bearish signal, I think that is also where perhaps you want to take some steps to actually manage your downside risk, right? To reduce some exposure, especially if the support is broken. Okay, so $1.10 definitely is one of the levels that you want to watch out for over the next 1 or 2 weeks. See whether can price actually reclaim back this level, and the 20 days moving average, does it actually show some stabilization, flattening out, right? If it doesn't, where is the potential next support? I think you can see right over here, right? I've drawn at this $1, which is a psychological level, right? Definitely it is a psychological level right over here, and also here tested as a resistance, here tested as a resistance prior to breaking out, and once it broke out, right, here tested as a support level, right? So $1 is the next psychological support level to actually take note of, right? But of course, I mean, I hope that you guys actually manage to actually take some active steps rather than wait and hold all the way to $1 and then go down even lower and then don't do anything about it, especially now we do see weakness returning back to this particular stock. Okay, so I think for who let me see, Pinky Binpo Joe Raju all of you guys, right, make some set some price alert, right? Make sure to set some price alert to actually continuing monitor this stock, right, to see whether this 110 is able to reclaim this level, and also set your price alert at around the $1 level because if it really, you give it more chance and it really breaks below this $1, I think that's where perhaps you might want to think about your downside risk management rather than continuing holding on to it, right? Not saying that the long term is good, but short term there could still be short term weakness, and we also don't want to just because the short term is the long term is good, right, and then short term is weak, right, I just keep holding on and my losses might get bigger and bigger and that could also potentially be what we always talk about as opportunity cost right? So that is something to take note of, right? $1.10, and the immediate resistance as of now, you can see it is around this $1.20. Right here previously was a support level, right? Support level, and then now it is price is below this $1.20, right? So this $1.20 essentially become what we call a resistance as well, right? So these are some of the levels, right, that perhaps you might want to take note of, right? And make sure to think about what is your downside risk management. If prices were to continue to hit down, what are the next steps that you are going to do, especially if the support doesn't actually hold, right? So now that we know that this particular stock, there is weakness, 1 GD bearish signal, 20 days moving average is pointing down, I think we don't want to just ignore it, right? Because it is in the red, we don't just want to ignore it. That is the last thing that we want to do, right? Ignore everything, don't do anything about it. At least take active steps to make sure that your downside is actually kept in check. Okay, so that would be for Olam Group. I hope those are some of the levels, right, that you guys can think of. But again, like what I've mentioned, right, make sure to actually check into this particular stock and take note of this stock, right, tomorrow, right, when the market actually close. TradingView actually updates the chart. Take note of these levels and to see, like, are these levels, right, actually still valid because once the price actually adjusts, the chart will actually also adjust. Okay, so that is for Olam. I hope that gives you something to think about, especially for all of you guys who are still holding on to it. Okay, so that is Olam. Passing it back over to Joey to cover the next Singapore stock.
All right, thank you so much, Z. Okay, now let me go to cover the next stock, and I'm sorry. Okay, now before I take a look at the next stock, I just want to go. I think Z also mentioned one thing regarding the charts, right? That it is adjusted for dividends, right? So I think just now, Chris is here. Remember, I covered Vicom, all right? I covered Vicom. And then, yeah, I just saw your message just now. Hey, thanks, Joey. I'm coming on the 1GT Lite. Okay, very good. So you're on the 1GT Lite indicator. We are using the Pro. So the Pro is the one that's a bit more advanced. We can turn on the trailing support and get a bit more insights. But no worries if you're using the Lite. But I think you mentioned that why the 1GT was a bit different. Mine is showing a 1GT bearish back in May. All right. So if mine don't have bearish, how come yours got bearish, right? It should be exactly the same one. Whether Pro or Light, it should be exactly the same, right? In terms of where the signal comes out. So I was just thinking, how come yours is different? Well, I think like what Z has mentioned just now, maybe your charts is not adjusted for dividend. All right, so you go to settings, right? And these are all in the trainings, Christy. All right, it's on the trainings once you get the 1GT Lite trial. So we do have a Lite trial for it. All right, I think the link is right in the chat already, right? So you can test drive the Lite indicator for free. All right, if you like it, you can continue. But you can see right over here, there's these settings, right? Adjust for dividends, right? You can see mine is ticked. So once there's any dividends, because normally on X dividend date, right? I think like what Z has mentioned, the price will drop accordingly by the dividend amount. All right, so you see a price, give 20-cent dividend, the price suddenly drops so much, you thought what happened, right? But actually, it's due to the dividend. So it is better if we adjust it for dividend, so you don't see any gaps or like wondering why the price suddenly dropped, right? It's due to dividend. So once you click on adjust for dividend, it will be, a bit more, I think the charts will make more sense. All right, so that's what we do. But if you unclick it, then you can see. So I believe Christine, right? Christine, yours is, you say you saw in May, right? So yours got one signal in May, correct, lor? I think you never click on adjust for dividend, right? So just go to settings, adjust for dividend, pump. Okay, already, right? So take note, adjust for dividend. That is what you'll be saying. It should be the same as mine. Okay, I think that's what Z has mentioned as well. So Chris, I hope Chris is here. I hope that helped. Okay, now let me move on. Let me move on to the next stock. And that would be, okay, let me see. What is the next stock I cover? Okay, where is it? Okay, I'm trying to find a comment, guys. There's like so many comments, right? So many chat. But the next stock I want to cover will be this company called CNMC Goldmine. Who is asking about it? I think some of you were asking about it, right? Let me just pull out the comments on CNMC Goldmine. Where is it? I just... Sorry, I'm trying to find it, but I cannot find it. Where is it? Here. All right. Okay. Hi, HP Ping. Hi, can you cover Goldmine, CNMC Goldmine 5TP? Price has risen this week, looking at adding positions to DCA. Right. Another one on CNMC Goldmine as well. So I think a couple of you asking about CNMC Goldmine, but I think this is the first one that I can find. Okay, probably cannot find it. Okay, never mind. So it's probably somewhere. But anyway, this is by HL Ping, all right, asking about CNMC Goldmine. Now, let me go to take a look at CNMC Goldmine right now, based on what is happening, right? So looking to get in, is it a good stock? Think about getting in? Let's take a look. So let me go to turn on the moving averages very quickly. So normally what I do is that I will turn on the 3 moving averages. And of course, the very first box would be the signals. As I say, the one good trend lights indicator allows you to do just that. All right, the very first box and the 3 boxes in terms of the moving averages. The other more advanced features like the horizontal support and resistance, the trailing support, the volume, some risk management tools that we use, that one will be in the Pro indicator. All right, that one, if you want to find out more, you can attend a free webinar. But the light indicator by itself, all right, you can see pretty much the signals and the 3 moving averages, right? Okay, now let's take a look at CNMC Goldmine. Well, I think, guys, you want to put it in your watch list for this stock. This was one of the stocks that we shared with our clients as well in Phillips Securities. You can see that why we like it is that if you ask me in like April or May, that we got bearish signal coming out, then I would say be patient, wait. I mean, look at the green line is pointing down. Then we got another bearish signal. If you get in at 170, you get stuck. All right, you get in at 150, you think cheap, then go to 120. All right, you get stuck. So when we see a red bearish signal, we try not to rush. All right, what's the point? Like you see over here also, right? We got a red bearish signal that was in October last year. We went from like 120 all the way to $1. All right, so we want to be a bit more patient. Does it make sense? All right. But then you don't patient, wait until Christmas, then the price go up, you're still waiting, all right? You must also know when to get back in. You see what I'm saying, right? So when is the time to get back in? When is the time to start preparing to ride the reversal? Well, that is exactly when we get bullish 1 GT signals, right? As confirmations plus other things that we look at, like the short-term trend, you know, and other confirmations that we seek as well. All right. So you can see that was what happened. We got 3 bullish signals, all the way up, right? And then from March to June, July, all the way down, right? But over the past 3 weeks, we got not 1, but we got 2 1 GT bullish signal. I mean, I don't know whether it'll be like in like January and February, like 1, 2, then all the way up. But can you see that we got 2 1 GT bullish green signals popping up since like about 2-3 weeks back? In fact, last month. All right, we have pushed a little bit higher. The green 20 days moving average line is also sloping up. It is still up. And what I like is this, is that right now, as I'm talking, all right, I want to draw this level right over here, the $1.50, right? Just do me a favor, guys, before I talk about this stock. Just type 150, guys, in the chat before I talk about 150. All right, let me know. Type $1.50 in the chat, all right, because it's a quite important level, right? Type $1.50 in the chat. Let me just see who is here. All right, okay, let's see, right? Okay, 150. Thank you so much. 150. Thank you so much. Picky Teo, CNMC Goldmine using 1 GT as US miners have shot up. All right, great. All right, but very good. Thanks for typing $1.50. So you guys know that it's a bit more important. It's quite critical. That's exactly what I'm looking at right now. All right, so CNMC Goldmine, well, this 150 is very, very crucial. You can see that 150, guys, we have been trading below it. It was a resistance right over here. That was in January. When we got the bearish signal popping out since March, you can see, right? We were right over here, below 150, same thing, we touched, we come back down, we were just below the 150. In fact, last week also, we were below 150, and then we came down a bit, right? So the range was like 135, right? It was like 135 to 150, right? So this 150, we have been below it for about 4 to 5 months already, okay? But today, as I'm talking, right, it seems like these 2 bullish signals that popped out, all right, it's really played out. We have gone out a little bit higher, but it seems like there could still be more legs to this reversal, all right, if we can break above the $1.50 resistance level. So now, now it's lunchtime. Okay, no wonder it's not moving, right? So, 12 p.m. it closed at $1.52, all right? Well, what I'm trying to say is that, of course, the market is not closed yet, all right? We don't know by the end of today, it will close at 152 or 155 or 151, or maybe go back down below 150. Nobody knows, all right? But if today or maybe up to next week, we can stay, first of all, you must close above 150, and you stay above 150, I think that would be where this stock will really start to be a bit more bullish, all right? We would have got out of this 4 to 5 months consolidation. These 2 bullish signals can continue to play out. I think the reversal can continue. The green line, look at the green line that's been pointing up since last month, still pointing up. Long-term trend still okay, all right? Still okay, rate above the blue line, all right? I think anything above 150 in the next few days or next 1 or 2 weeks, right? We could see the reversal happening much firmly, all the way to 180, maybe even to that $2 level. Right over here. Does it make sense, Bob? All right, so back to your question, right? Well, I'm trying to find a comment again, right? Where is it? Okay, I found it again, right? CNMC Goldmine. Price has risen this week, looking at adding position to DCA. Very good. So when you say DCA, right, HPing, that means you're actually dollar cost averaging. That means you're actually kind of like averaging up. I assume you probably had some right over here, maybe at 130, 120. Great. But now that it breaks 150, could you actually add more positions to ride it even further? Why not? All right. So most people, when they have positions, right, they always think that, I need to get out because I have already, right? Then you went up. My mind is just to sell to get out. But actually, if it's still good, you can buy some more, Correct? Not anyhow buy, but you can, load up in a way whereby you still manage your risk to maximize your profits in an uptrend. Not always this thing about getting out. All right. However, what we always say is these are nothing wrong to take some profit near a resistance. So for example, if it hits over here to like 180, that could potentially be a sell zone. If it hits over to $2, that could potentially be a sell zone. Right, that's where selling might come back. So if we see, pushing up, and then it rests for a while, we see selling pressure coming back. Nothing wrong to take some profit near a resistance. Right, that is where we are, locking in some profits near a ceiling. Correct. But when we start to see a bit more strength, we break a resistance, right? We break the ceiling. Well, that's where you could actually think about loading up even more, right? To continue to ride the reversal, even though you already have positions. All right. So I hope that helps. I think this stock is one of the stock that is in my watch list. We have covered it. We have sent out a few notes to our clients in Philip Securities as well. All right. And I think right now it looks pretty interesting. I did not know just now, actually, when I was looking at it, it was like below 150, but now it is above 150 already. All right. And just nice, HPeng also asked about it. So good stock to put in your watch list. I think next few days, we want to see a bit more confirmation. As I say, if it holds above 150, that could be another sign of more momentum potentially coming back, and the reversal can take place a bit more firmer as well. All right, Ken. And one thing, I've been talking about it, hey, we have sent, these ideas, right? Whether it's CNMC or some of the other stocks as well, we actually send out to our clients in Philip Securities on a daily basis by WhatsApp for free, right? So I believe most of you, I think some of you are probably clients of mine in Philip Securities, right? Type a C for client, guys. If you're a client of mine in Philip Securities, that means you are receiving our daily updates and ideas. I just want to thank you for your support. Let me know if you are already a client of mine. C for client, guys. If you're a client of mine, that means you have a trading account under me in Philip Securities. You're being supported by me and my team. All right. I believe we do have quite a lot of clients joining us, right? Every week, every Friday. But some of you, maybe you're not yet a client, right? You are just scrolling through YouTube, right? Thank you so much, Jenny, for sure, right? Yes, a lot of clients, client Jenny as well, Fiona, client. So we do have a lot of clients joining us as well, all right? But just to take note, guys, if you are maybe not yet a client of mine in Philip Securities, all right? And you probably need a trading account to buy and sell stocks, right? So if you have a trading account somewhere, all right, but you don't really get much ideas, videos, training, WhatsApp on a daily basis, no one's share with you any top stocks to watch as well. Check out how you can become a client of mine. Like many of our clients over here, like Ricky, Sanjay, Jeff Fu as well. All right. If you're not typing C, then maybe you might want to consider. The link is right in the chat. Click on it. That's where I will, I look forward to work with you a bit closer with my team. You get some of those top private trainings on a daily basis, videos, articles, newsletter, much faster, plus daily ideas on WhatsApp, like CNMC Goldmine, right? Much faster by WhatsApp for free, right? You do not pay anything more, right? Just want to be clear. You do not pay anything more. It's the same as whatever you pay when you're trading. No difference. All right. So check it out. The link is right in the chat, right? The link is right in the chat, right? And I think a lot of people, a lot of clients, when they come to us, we will ask them, hey, what service are you getting? So most people say that there's no service, right? It's just like an online app. You log into the online website, mobile phone, and you just do yourself. Nobody care about you. Nobody call you. Nobody WhatsApp you. Nothing, right? If that's you guys, the link is right in the chat. Check it out. We look forward to share those ideas on a daily basis with you, much faster. Okay. Now let me go into pass on. So now that that's clear, all right. Let me pass on the mic to Jia Yi to cover the next Singapore stock. Right, Jia Yi, yours. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Joey. So yeah, actually I see a lot of people typing C and still continue to type C. So glad to see a lot of our clients over here. So for those who are not a client, I believe Joey have mentioned, on a monthly basis, we'll send out newsletter covering top three Singapore stocks and 3 US stocks that we are looking at. And also from time to time, we also share some articles on US and also some SDI as well. And I think these are actually things that actually value add to clients that are under Joey, under us as well. So those who are not a client under us, feel free to just click the link and find out more about it. And I think the next stock that I was about to cover was also one of the counters that I think was being sent out as one of the stocks. I think previously one of the stocks that we covered quite a few times, which is AEM. I think someone was asking about AEM as well. Let me just pull it out. Oh, Joanne, hi, morning. Hopefully, I'm still here. Bought AEM at 9.17. No, it seems that it has been going down the last few days. Can I still hold it? So I think hopefully as a client under us, no, if you are a client under us, you receive the daily broadcast, know where are support resistance, where are levels that you can look at, and maybe we can look at it now as well. And I think someone else was also asking about AEM. I think T Young, no, bought AEM at average of 4.26. Now I was looking at it, 4.26 means you actually bought it quite a while back. I think start of the year, and I think you're in quite a good profit. No, took some profit along the way as well at 10.50 recently. What is a good price to re-enter? So it's good that you actually took some profit and you're looking to re-enter. Know where are the levels that you might want to closely monitor for this AEM. So I think AEM was one of the counters. I think start of the year we have looked at it, talk about it. Prices actually went up from previously about $1 plus $2 when there's a 1 GT bullish signal that appeared. Prices went up, and I think start of the year it went up close, breaking above resistance. And I think in April, $5 was a resistance for a few weeks. Prices break above and continue to show more strength. And I think around start mid of May to maybe now, can see actually that prices for AEM has been kind of consolidating sideways. Prices were moving between that $8.50 range to that to the $11 resistance. Prices tested this level quite a few times, a resistance of 11 quite a few times in May, June, and I think just in July actually it was testing this 850, couldn't stay above, but afterwards just a few days later, maybe 1 week plus, it actually managed to stay above this 850 or even that 850 level. So I think for previously when we look at it, prices are kind of consolidating between this 850 to the $11 level, and just recently we can see that in August, I think 14, prices actually went above the 11, but sellers came in to push back down below that $11 resistance level again. So I would say 11 is still quite a strong resistance level for AEM, but this doesn't mean that this counter is lousy already or is weak. If you look at it in terms of the moving averages, the long-term wise, we can see that the 100 days and the 200 days all the ways has been sloping upward, has been showing strength. Previously, the 20 days moving average started to flatten, start to show some weakness, but just recently, if you notice, it's actually really starting to point up, and also there's a 1 GT bullish signal that reappeared. So I think for AEM wise, I think for this counter, it's still showing strength. It's just that it's currently consolidating between this 850 to the $11 level. So I think for AEM, if those who are looking to enter, or for T Young, you're looking to re-enter, what is a good price range? I'll say 850 might be a good support level that you actually want to monitor to enter for this AEM. And I think if you were to turn on the 1 GT, the trailing support and resistance, you can also notice that the trailing support is around that $8.90 to close to that $9 psychological level. So maybe that could be a range around that $9 level. That could be a support, or $8.50 to $9. That could be a range that you might want to look at to re-enter for this AM, as long as it's able to hold above the 850. And prices are still showing strength long-term wise. 100 days, 200 days is still showing strength, still pointing up. I think overall AM is still a good counter to look at. And I think for Joanne, you bought it around 917. I think you're still in some profit, but it's just that recently, after hitting the resistance of $11, it start to pull back, maybe back towards the support of $8.50 to $9. I mean, maybe it's very normal. We see that the prices consolidate between that $8.50 to the $11. I mean, that's the range that is trading now. So I'll say overall, AM, if you're looking at it, you can still hold on to it. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that maybe you want to, hopefully, we see that prices are able to break above this 11. So I think 11 is quite a key resistance level that it has been tested quite a few times since May until now for the past 3 months. If prices are able to break above this $11, just doing a simple projection from the 850 to the $11, I would say the next upside could be towards that 1350 or even that 14th psychological level. So if prices are able to break and stay above, not like on 14 August, prices broke but couldn't stay above. Maybe if prices start to trade and start to show more strength and break above the 11 and hold above the $11, I think there's a high chance of it showing more strength and more potential towards that 13 or even at $14 level. So I think for AM, as long as it's able to break above the 11, I think there could be more upside towards this counter. So I think for those who are looking to enter for this counter, if you are looking to enter for a breakout strategy, if prices break above the 11, I mean you can set alert at around that 11:10. If prices break above and get notified, maybe that's when you can actually come in and see whether prices are able to hold above 11 and with more upside towards that 13 or even that 14. Yep. So I think for Joanne, if you're still holding to AM, overall it still looks good. Hopefully it can break above the 11. And I think if for those who are looking to enter, I think $8.50 or $9 might be a support level that you can look to enter for AM, or even at $11 if it breaks above and stay above it. So I think that's for AM, and this is one of the counters that we covered quite a few times for clients under us. So yeah, so I think that's for AM. If not, I'll pass on my time to Z to cover the next stock.
All right, thanks, Jai. Okay, so maybe I'll just do a very quick recap, right, of some of the stocks that we have already covered. Because I think some of you guys could also be asking the same stock that we have already covered earlier on, right? But don't worry, because after this live show, you can actually watch the replay on YouTube. Okay, so the very first thing that Joey covered definitely is the market update, right, which is the STI index, right? And the very first stock that he covered was Yangzijiang Shipbuilding, followed by Jai actually covered SETS, and then I did PCT Partners, right? And then the next stock that I actually did, Joey did, was UOB, followed by Wilmar, and then Geo Energy. Okay, and then after that, it was Vicom, Singtel, Olam, CNMC Goldmine, and Jia just covered AEM. Okay, so that is 11 stocks so far, and I'll be covering the next stock, which is Sheng, right? And that will be the 12th stock. Okay, so let me just pull out the comments here, and it is by EO, right? EO 2019. You're asking about Siong, right? Seem to have support at around 318, thinking to enter. Okay, thanks for giving us some context, right? That you are thinking of buying or getting into Siong. Right, so let's take a look at Siong together, right? So Siong actually, to be honest, is one of those Singapore chart, right? Singapore stocks, right? The chart actually look pretty beautiful one. Now you can see it's very a classic textbook uptrend. It goes up, sideways, up, sideways, up, sideways, up, and this is where we are at, right? So is it a very sexy, attractive, very fast, volatile stock? Not exactly, right? I mean, comparing to the tech stock out there, definitely not as sexy, but it's stable, it's beautiful. It's nice, right? The uptrend, it is still strong, right? Longer term uptrend, definitely no issues, both red and the blue pointing up, right? Green line, however, over the past couple of months, I think starting from July, right? July to 1 month, about maybe 1.5 months, right? You can see that it has started to flatten out, right? Previously it was pointing up, right? If you ask us in June, July, short term, long term, all fantastic, right? Price even broke out, right? And then after that, 20 days moving average starts to flatten out. And this is where we are at, right? Price is about $3.20. And EO said that seems to have some support at about 318. I would agree with you, EO, right? Because you can see that my support that I've drawn here, right? Maybe some of you guys might draw it about 310. Some maybe draw it about 312. Maybe some draw about 315. Some like EO, you put about 318, right? It will be around this zone, right? So I put in the middle about $3.15 right over here. Why? Is because I used the highest high, right, of the upper shadow, right? And you can see right over here as a support, and then here is the lower shadow. So around 315, I put around 315, right? But it is in the support zone. That is the support zone that we are actually looking at, which I agree with EO as well, right? So that is where previously it was a resistance from April to June, and then this level became a support, right? So over the past month since June to where we are at, buyers always come back around this zone, right? This is where buyers are willing to support the prices. It didn't fall below this level lah. This about 15 this level, right? And right now, price, is it testing this level? Definitely, right? It is definitely testing this level. And in fact, even in the past 1 to 2 weeks, did it go back to this like $3.15, $3.12, $3? This level, it did, right? It did. So the thing is that you are thinking about entering, right? And when we think about entering, we always say we think about entering on strength, right? Whereby the uptrend has to be strong, right? Definitely longer term uptrend intact, right? And now we are thinking about buying near support zone. So I think there's nothing wrong, right? There's nothing wrong to actually enter near a support zone, especially when we know that this was where buyers previously came back, right? But I think the key thing is buying is easy, right? We always say buying is easy. You've got money, even if let's say at 325, 340, you want to buy, can buy. But the problem is buy already, then what is next, right? Because that is usually where people maybe might get a little bit stuck, right? Because they don't really know what to do after they buy. Where do you then exit? What about your stop loss plan, right? So in terms of trading plan, it has to be complete lah. You don't just enter, but you also need to go target price. You also need to have a stop loss price to manage your downside risk, right? So in terms of target, we always look towards where? Resistance, right? Because why resistance is where selling pressure has come back before, right? And this is where I've drawn around $3.40. Maybe some of you guys might draw at 3.35, right? So again, same thing, I would say that it is a zone, right? It is a zone. It could be about maybe 3.35 to about 3.40. I think this is a valid resistance lah, because why? You can see that based on candlestick, previously selling pressure already came back, right? It didn't even touch 3.40 around this. What was the high of this? 3.36 selling pressure come back already, right? Again, same thing here. What this candlestick, even though it was green, but it is bearish. Why? Because of the long upper shadow, right? Again, near this resistance zone. So I would not be surprised if price, right, were to maybe test this 315, 320, this support zone, rebound back up to this 340, right? And if selling pressure were to come back, I would not be surprised lah, because it did actually happen previously. Right, so that could be part of your, trading plan in terms of target price, right? So if you got an entry, you got a target, what is left is your stop loss, right? That is to manage your downside risk, because once you buy into a stock, right, definitely got risk one. Never say no risk. There will always be risk, right? If the price were to reverse, if it were to break a support, then what's next, right? So right here, right, you can, of course, this $3.15, this is the immediate support, right, that we have taken note of. What about the previous support? The previous support, I would say somewhere around this 290. Could you see? Around this 290. I don't know if you guys will agree with me. 290, right? Right over here, resistance. Break above it, breakout. 1GT bullish signal came out, tested as a support, right? So around, I would say around this $2.90, right, would be the next support that you could be looking at now, right? But with that in mind, right? I mean, of course, 290. $3.15. That's a bit far, right? But you actually would know that around 290, okay, that's the next support. But in terms of formulating a trading plan based on your current entry price, right? If you were to take a very simple look at this in terms of the projection and the target, it also got to make sense to you in terms of the risk to reward ratio, right? If your stop loss were to be placed slightly below the $3.15, that support zone, right? With a stop loss maybe around $3.12, $3.10, depending on your risk appetite, right? And your entry, like you've mentioned, around the $3.18, $3.15, with your target in the resistance zone, right? Does this make sense to you in terms of the risk to reward? Is it still meaningful enough for you to actually take the trade, right? Because if prices didn't pan out, right, and can it don't pan out according to plan? Definitely, because the market doesn't care about us. It doesn't care about what we think. It doesn't care about our plan, right? But the key thing is, if it does break below the support level and it hits your stop loss, then do we get out? Yes, based on our plan, of course, we do get out, right? And if by then actually happens, if it breaks below the $3.15, this support zone, 20 days moving average, if it starts to continue to point downwards, right, with a 1GT bearish signal, then of course that is where perhaps you might also want to think about, your risk management, your downside, right? Don't just continue holding on to a stock because you have no plan, because you don't really know what to do, right? So before even getting into a stock, make sure to think about all the different aspects, right, of your trading plan in terms of target, in terms of stop loss as well, apart from just thinking about entering. Okay, so for EO, I mean, I'm also not too sure what is your risk appetite as well. That is also something that you also got to think about with regards to your position sizing lah. But make sure to also have a downside risk management plan in a form of stop loss. If prices doesn't pan out, if it tests this 315, 320 support zone, right, and for some reason over the next 2 to 3 weeks, you know, a news actually come out about the company, or you know, it could be economic related news, you know, things like that, right? And if it does break below these $3.15, then that's where maybe you want to have a stop loss plan in place as well. Especially so if 20 days moving average starts to point out and we get a 1 GT bearish signal. Okay, so EO, I hope that helps to give you something to think about and also help you to formulate your trading plan. Make sure to do your due diligence and also to take into account of your personal risk appetite. Okay, because at the end of the day, everybody's risk appetite is also different. All right, so that will be Siong. I mean, I'll pass the time back over to Joey to cover the next Singapore stock.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, let's move on to the next stock, and I think that's us. Okay, let's just go one more round. All right, let's go one more round, guys. I think we have covered like a total of 12 stocks already, but let's just do one more round before we move on to the bonus stocks. And I think some of you are actually asking about the bonus stocks that we want to share at the end. So we will not be covering it because we'll be covering it at the end anyway, right? So yours may be the bonus stocks at the end, right? But let me just go to pick one more. All right, I mean, I'll just do one more round. So as we do the next stock, and that will be let's see, right? Okay, let me try to find the. Okay, that will share my screen. Okay, and that's asked by Sherry, right? Sherry, let's take a look. SIA, and there we go. This is SIA. Good morning, Joey and team. May I know what would be a good time to enter SIA again? Singapore Airlines. I sold SIA at $7.50 earlier. Very good, right? So I think it's sold somewhere right at the top. In fact, we got a bearish signal popping out, all right, and waiting to buy again. Thanks for giving us some context. So you sold, you're looking to get in. Great that you sold somewhere near the high. I think it was like about 760. That was a high, but no worries. You sold around 740 to 750. Good enough, right? You can see that we have came down. Now is $6.91. So when could be a good time to enter again, right? That's your question. Let me go ahead to take a look at SIA right now. So I would say that for SIA, well, we have been quite volatile. I mean, you can see whenever we got bearish signal, that was in February, March, when the US-Iran war started, oil prices spiked. And for the airlines, right, a lot of their, I mean, fuel itself, right, jet fuel itself accounts for a huge part of their expense, right? It eats into the margin if oil prices or jet fuel prices goes up quite a lot, right? And that's what we're seeing right now. So we're starting to see weakness. And that was the same thing that happened when the US-Iran crisis actually started in March. You can see we got a bearish signal. We went down. But somewhere around May, when there were some talks, there were some positive developments, right? Oil prices cooled off a little bit. We got bullish signals. It went all the way up, right? And, you know, we were holding quite well, I would say, above 720. Right? You can see, right? 720 was a bit of a support, rebounded, right? 720 to 760, right? That was kind of like the range for like 1 month plus. A bit boring. You can see the green line that was going up, okay? Also started to flat, and then now it is turning down, right? So very good that you got out. Now, when would be a good time to get in again? Well, the thing is this, right? Normally when we see a bearish rate signal, like for example, that came out in August, which is like last Wednesday, all right? Same thing in March also, we got a bearish signal, it popped up and then we went lower, right? So this bearish signal is like the first one that came out in March, right? When we see a bearish signal, we don't want to rush, all right? So I'm very good at you asking, hey, when is a good time, you know, to get in again? Because, you know, is it 691? Is it now it's cheap? Then you get in, all right? Because last week was $7 plus, right? Now $6.91. You think it's cheap, right? And it's really cheaper, Should we just get in because it's cheap? Not really, right? We want to get in when there are reasons to get in, when there are clear rules that are in place that tells us that we can get in. All right, when there are clear confirmations that we seek that shows that, yeah, it is indeed going to reverse back up. There's some signs of a reversal, then we get in, right? Not just because it was cheaper than last week. Then that's not really a reason, right, Ken? So what are the things that we're looking for in terms of a potential entry to get back in? Well, very simple. For SIA, okay, so I think I want to be careful as I say, Two things that I don't really like is that, two things that I don't really like, that it can be a bit weaker lah, all right, is that we got a bearish red color signal, all right, and that bearish signal came out, after 3 months, right? Not after 3 weeks. After 3 months, it was very nice, from like 620 all the way up. We're looking at a pretty decent gain of about 16%, right? 16%. And then the bearish signal appeared. So that just means some selling have returned, all right? The green line, the short-term trend, is also pointing down. Look at the green line. Don't you bluff yourself, guys. Down means down, up means up. Now it's down. Or if you ask me in May and June, I would say it's up. Correct? But now it is down. Correct? So not so good. Next thing I don't really like is that we have also broken the 720 support level. Plus, even the psychological $7. Right? So $7 is a bit of a psychological level. All right. And the past few days, this week, we have broken below $7 as well. Now it's $6.91. Right. So I just think it looks a bit weaker. I don't really like stock that is going lower and lower, finding lower lows, lower highs, breaking support, bearish signal out, green line pointing down. All right. So it just looks a bit more shaky. So if I can share with you maybe what would be the next support level that I'm looking at, that hopefully it can stabilize and stay above, well, that would be 680. I'm not saying that it will sure go there and rebound, but that is a potential support level. 680 could be a good support level, right? The next good support level that you want to watch would be this level. I think that would be the $6.50 level, right? So look at this, right? 650 was a resistance in April. We broke above the 650. We consolidated above it for a while. All right. And we pushed and break 680 and went up, right? So 680 and 650. These are what we call potential support levels that hopefully we stay above. And if we do hit there, in fact, it can look quite attractive if we really hit to near 650 to 680, right? That is where I think some good bargain hunting might come back, right? So when we draw a support level, doesn't mean that when we go to the support level, then we just anyhow go and buy. No, all right? It just shows that, that is where you want to monitor a bit, right? When you hit to there, and then you see prices hovering above that support, holding quite well. And then the green line that obviously is pointing down now starts to flatten out, right? Whether you go up, that's another thing, but at least you don't go down. Does it make sense, right? So we're going to see the green line flattening out over here, or maybe over at the lower part. That will be signs that, that support is indeed coming out. That potential bottom could have been found. Right, and that's where you could get ready to think about getting in for that reversal. And of course, especially, in fact, this is like what we see previously in May, when you see a new 1GT bullish signal, the first one, the second one, there will be additional confirmation. You can see when that happens, the green line that was going down, flat down, started to point up, bullish signals coming out. So if you ask me, what am I looking for? There, I'm looking at these two things coming again. All right, what happened in May, if it happened again now, in August or September, that's what I'm looking for, especially if it happens near that support level that I've just drawn. You see what I'm saying so far? All right, so that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I hope that helps, all right, Sherry, regarding I'm glad that you got out good. So now you can think about getting in. So watch the 680, watch the 650. If we do get bullish signals coming out. So some of you might ask me, Joey, how do we get alerted as well when a bullish signal appears? Well, we can actually set alerts, right? Like for example, we can add an alert, like on SIA, one good trend pro, buy or sell alert, right? And you can see that, trigger is like once only. So once there's a bullish or bearish red color signal, I will be alerted, all right? So some of you might ask me, Joey, alerted by what, right? Somebody call me to tell me. No, nobody will call me, right? But basically, it'll be an app notification. You'll send me an email if I choose that, all right? It'll be a pop-up as well, all right? So that is kind of like alerted, which is good enough, right? So once I get alerted, that is where I could potentially think about riding that reversal back up, right? If the signals, the bullish signals actually appear, all right, at these support zones. Okay, so that's how I can set this alert. So Sherry, you can attend a free webinar. I think the link is right in the chat. Attend a free webinar, and that's where I would say we will share a bit more on the strategy and perhaps how you could have a tool, this tool like us, to know when to get in and also when to get out as well. The link is right in the chat. So next Tuesday, as I say, just a final shout out, next Tuesday, 7:30 p.m., 25th August is our last webinar before we close. Okay, so That is for Singapore Airlines, SIA. All right, looks pretty attractive soon, hopefully. All right, and I'll definitely put it in my watch list once we get the bullish green signal coming back. Okay, now let me pass on the mic to Jia Yi to cover the next Singapore stock. Jia Yi?
All right, thank you, Joey. So the next Singapore stock that we're covering on, I think quite a few of you guys are asking, is on iFast. I think let me just share my screen. Okay, I think let me just find James. I think James, good morning team. Hopefully you're still here. Can share iFast bought it a few years ago at $8. So not sure how long ago was that lah. Has been lagged compared to other better stocks. Should I exit at some profit, or what is a good price to exit? I think that's a very good question, no? Whether you should hold on to counters that are maybe like trading sideways or lagged. Maybe let us look at it later. I think someone was also asking about iFast, iFast has been range bound, $8.80 to $9 for quite some time. Is it a good time to buy for further upside? And I think last person, Lam. What does the 1GT indicators look like for iFast? Not sure to hold or sell. So it looks like some of you guys are having some positions or looking to enter for this iFast. So maybe let us just look at iFast and how it is like for iFast. So I think iFast previously, last year, July has been showing strength. But I think since last year, actually before July, actually it started to show some strength. But once it actually hit around that $10 in around July last year, actually from the picture you can see that actually has been kind of trading sideways. Previously, we noticed that the 100 days and 200 days has been pointing up. But after it hit or it break above that $10 resistance level, I think start of the year, went close to the $11. Prices started to show some weakness. 1GT bearish signal came out, went back below that $10. We can see that since then, in start of the year, it has kind of been trading around the range of that $8.50 to that $10 level. You can see that prices has been trading around this level. Came to test this $8.50 in March, May, and I think just recently also around the $8.50 level. And I think this year, April, it came close to that $10. And just recently in July, not even close, but around that $10 level. I think we can see that clearly it has been trading around this range of $8.50 to $10 level. So I think if you were to notice around for that moving averages wise, we can see that previously moving averages has been pointing up. But I think since then, first thing is to notice that 100 days moving average already starting to flatten, cross below that 200 days, and the blue line is also starting to flatten. So if you were to look at it now, just looking at it, 100 days, 200 days, obviously is kind of trading sideways with the 20 days pointing down, indicating that the short term is showing some weakness. I think especially after their earnings, it came below that 950 and started to show some weakness. I think for iFast, it's still trading between that range of 850 to that $10 level. So I think some of you guys, let me just pull out again. I think for James, you bought it long time ago at $8, has been lagged. Yes, I agree with you. Has been trading around that $8.50 to $10 range. I think if you hold it since even that July last year, for that one whole year, you're back to square one, around that $8.50 level. So I would say it's actually better to rotate to other counters that are showing more upside and showing more strength. And I think if you're looking where could be a potential level to take some profit, I would say around that 950 or close to the $10. I wouldn't know whether prices are able to go back to that level, but maybe near term wise, if you look at it, I think 950 was a resistance, some resistance around this level. Maybe if prices can go back up to the 950 level, maybe you can let go and rotate to other better counters with more upside. Or if prices break below the 850 level, maybe you might want to secure your profit because you bought it $8, and I believe along the way you have collected dividends as well. So I think $8.50 to $10 is a range that you want to look at. And I think for for holds, you are looking to buy. I think if you are looking to trade reading that range, maybe 850 might be a level that you want to look at, and maybe let go around that $9.50 to $10 level. But of course, there might be more other counters that are showing more upside and more strength that you can actually look into because we wouldn't know how long it will take for this iFast to rebound from the 850 to the $10. It might actually take a few months, or it has been trading sideways, so we wouldn't know. And I think for Lam, you are looking to sell or hold. I'm not too sure what's your price that you got at. So I think for Lam, maybe 850 might be a key support level that you want to look at, and $10 is a resistance that you might want to take note of. Maybe $10 could be a level that you want to sell to reduce some exposure, take some profit. Or maybe if 850 is broken, then maybe there's a sign that there could be more weakness coming in for iFast, and maybe by then you might want to sell away to secure profit or even to stop loss. Yeah. So I think that's for iFast. Has been trading sideways. Or I think that's for iFast, a quick one. If not, I'll pass on my time to Z to cover the next stock.
All right, thanks, Jiayi. Okay, so the last stock that's requested by you guys, perhaps let's do this stock, okay? Lam is asking about ST Engineering, right? A one-time favorite of Z seemed to have lost its luster. Actually, not just my favorite, I think it's the team's favorite as well, because it's actually, it's still a pretty good stock, right? And you're thinking about, can we actually think about getting in again, right? So let's take a look at this together, all right? So for ST Engineering, right? ST Engineering, as you can see, okay, maybe let me just delete all of these first so that you all just see the lines only, okay? So right now, what do we see? We see in terms of signals, right? We see a 1GT bullish signal, right? We see a bullish signal. In terms of the long-term trend and short-term trend, long-term trend, the blue line, definitely no issue, right? It is definitely still pointing up. The red line was pointing up, but then now it has started to show some sign of like flattening out, tapering out, right? Not as steep uptrend as before, right? But in terms of the short-term, I think definitely you do see up and down, because shorter term, right? It reacts faster, right? So, but over the past couple of days, right? I think in about 1 week, we do see the short-term strength start to return again, whereby 20 days moving average starting to point back up, aligning with the same direction as the longer term, right? And that could, I think, partly also due to the earnings that actually got released not too long ago, right? Last week. So this is where we are at, right? Price is trading about like 1071. Right, and one thing that you notice about ST Engineering, right, it is a stock whereby there could be periods of long sideways consolidation, then suddenly it burst up, then sideways consolidation already, and then it burst, right? I think those are actually, good signs of a healthy, sustainable uptrend. And the thing is that sometimes when people think about consolidation, wow, actually like very boring. Don't really like consolidation. Everybody only want uptrend, right? Because you buy and then you want to sell higher, right? And earn the profits. I think that is very common, right? That's what people usually think. But don't think of consolidation as a bad thing, right? The thing is that sometimes consolidation is also good because it makes the uptrend more sustainable. Okay, so right now for ST Engineering, definitely, I think since March, you guys can also see, right, this particular stock has kind of just also been within a range, right? Definitely, I think it's around this $10 psychological level to about 1150, right? To about 1150. And I think just now you guys can see that I actually drew these boxes, right? And this is what we actually call as a buy zone and a sell zone, right? Because how do I actually determine that? It's based on the support and the resistance, right? So for ST Engineering, right, I think it really depends on actually individual trading habits and also strategy as well. Because if you are looking at this over the past couple of months, for some of the clients that we have spoken to, what they actually like to do, it could also be a range trading, because prices have been trading within a range, right? So support, resistance, that could be a strategy, right? That could be a strategy, but some clients they like, some clients they don't like, right? But the other way that we can also think about this or look at this ST Engineering is to watch for a potential breakout, right? Definitely, now we know that the resistance is around this 1150, right? So perhaps you might want to consider setting price alert above 1150 as well to notify yourself that, hey, if this price breakout, and we start to see that the 20 days moving average also starts to go back up, above the 100 days moving average, could it be something like that happening as well, right? Not saying that, copy paste here, right? That could be what we want to watch out for, in terms of the confluence of factors, in terms of the signs whereby 20 days moving average starts pointing up. We got renewed strength in the counter whereby a new higher support has been found, whereby this 1150, right, turned to become a new higher support. That could be also what we call a breakout strategy. And in terms of the breakout strategy, if we were to do this range, right, you project it upwards, the potential upside target we could be looking towards to be around this $13 $13 psychological level, right? But at this point in time, you ask me whether can it break out or not. I don't know. I also don't know. I don't know whether can it break out or not. It could be like that, maybe for another 2 to 3 weeks before it break out. Perhaps, right? That is the reason why set alert is important, right? Setting alert in terms of the price alert and also setting the technical alert, which Joey talked about earlier on, right? Whereby if, let's say, we got another 1 GT bullish signal coming out, does it give you more conviction and confirmation that, hey, you know, this breakout is also a sustainable one, right? Because now we do know that the blue line, the longer term, is actually pointing up, right? The red line, at least not pointing out, it's just flattening out, right? Kind of like taking a breather, but you start to see the red line also start to show signs of it pointing back up with the green line already up. I think that is something that we want to watch out for in terms for a breakout. But otherwise, I think a potential range bound trading could also happen if it does not break out above this 1150, right? Whereby resistance, support, resistance, support, resistance, support. Some people might like, some people might not like. It really depends, right? There's no one size fit all, but those are the levels that potentially you can watch out for and you can take note of to think about your trading plan, right? Based on, of course, your risk appetite, right? And also make sure to have a stop loss plan in place, be it whether if we are talking about a breakout strategy, like so, right, breaking out above 1150, or be it could be a retracement, like a range bound trading strategy. Also need to have a stop loss in mind to make sure to manage the downside. In the event that if it one day like that and break below, then how, right? Then we also need to think about a plan of our risk management, our downside risk. Okay, Lam, I hope that gives you something to think about. I'm not too sure, you know, is there any preference in terms of your trading strategy, in terms of your risk appetite as well? But those are the things that you can consider, right, with respect to the current levels and price that we are at. Okay, set your price alert, set your technical alert, and definitely, I think this stock can still be add into your watch list to continue monitoring it. All right, so that would be for ST Engineering. A quick one, right? So I'll pass the time back over to Joey now so that he can actually kickstart the bonus section for today.
All right, thank you so much, guys. So I think we have covered a total of like 15 over stocks. There's more than 70, 60 over stocks right there in the chat. All right, very, very sorry, guys, that we cannot cover all of it. All right, but hopefully you can join us the next time as well. All right, or maybe, as I say, right, for those of you who are not yet a client of mine in Philip Securities, if you have an account under me in Philip Securities, that's where my team would be able to do kind of like a very quick, advisory as well. All right, we have the same One Good Trend Pro indicator as well. All right, so that's kind of like some services that we do as well, especially if you are not getting any service from your own broker. All right, so do check it out. The link is right in the chat. Come on board if you're not yet a client of mine in Philip Securities. Now, okay, let me just do a quick recap, guys, of all the stocks we have covered so far before I move on to the first bonus stock for today that I'd like to share with you guys. Right, so right at the beginning, I talked about the Singapore market, the STI. The very first stock that I covered was Yangzijiang Shipbuilding. Then we move on to SETS. All right, SETS services. We have a PC Partner Group, UOB, Wilmar, Geo Energy, Vicom, Singtel, Olam, CNMC, Goldmine. I think that stock is not too bad. I'll put in your watch list 150, right? Or something like that. Yeah. Anything above 150, it looks pretty bullish. CNMC, Goldmine, I think I covered that. Right, put that in your watch list. AEM was covered, Siong, SIA, iFast, and Z just covered ST Engineering. All right, okay, now let's go on. Let's go on to the next part whereby I want to share with you guys the very first, top Singapore bonus stock that you can put in your watch list for potentially more upside. And this stock actually, as I say, we have been sharing with our clients as well in Philip Securities a couple of months back since June. All right, those of you who are receiving our daily updates and ideas by WhatsApp, just check it out. You probably received a few times already. But why did we even cover it? Why did we even get a note out to our clients? Well, you can see that we got a couple of bullish signals popping out. In fact, not even like the past 2-3 months. Last year, we also had, this was in beginning of the year, right? In January and February, we got bullish signals, all the way up. Well, we got a bearish signal coming out, get out, take some profit. But when a bullish reversal signal came out in June, 18th of June, you can see we started consolidating higher above the $3, from $3 to $3.50, $3.50 to $4, now become $4 and 40 cents, right? So pretty strong rally, right? All the way up to now, 47% in about 1 month plus, 47% based on this bullish signals. Now, why do I still like this stock? Well, over the past 1 over week, right, you can see that we have broken this psychological $4 resistance level. We were kind of like trading below it. In fact, we're right here in May, we got a bearish signal and we pushed down, right? So this $4 is what we call a very key psychological resistance, right? If we break above it, okay, and we were to stay above it, right, that could be a sign of strength. It could be a sign of buyers are out to attempt to find a new high to push it to another higher phase, all right? Or that's where targets can be raised as well if we break that ceiling, right, at $4. So over the past 1 week, you can see that we got a first bullish signal. The second one came out, all right? Clients were alerted as well, right over here. Yes, push up all the way, and now it seems like 450, right? 450 would be a bit of a temporary resistance level, right? That's where we saw some selling, which I think is fine. I mean, we have pushed up for like 4 or 5 days straight, so a bit of selling as we move up, that's fine as well. But along the way, you could see that we have been finding what we call higher lows, right, and higher highs. So you can see the past 5 days, right? The lows get higher, right? The lows get higher. Right, higher lows, and same thing as the lows get higher, the highs also get higher. So when one thing we like, about highs becoming higher as more trading days pass, would be that it's not just moving sideways. It's just not kept below a certain price level, right? Is that buyers are out to test, right, to push the barrier, to break the boundary, right, to hopefully go to another high, right? So higher highs, that is a sign of strength. That's exactly what we are seeing as well, right? So I think that for first resources, it might be a bit more expensive, of course, compared to June and July when we got the bullish signals. But I think these bullish signals are still continuing to play out, all right? Anything above $4, upside target could be back to the $5. So 450, as I say, a bit of a temporary resistance. Might see a bit of selling there, which is it's just normal, all right? The fact that it's gone up quite fast. But if we can break 450, I think targets could be revised all the way to $5. So this is one of those stock whereby it's kind of a play, a palm oil kind of play, with oil prices rising due to tensions between US and Iran, and then Trump yesterday night threatening to inflict what we call economic war on Iran, all right? Not just military. I think he's facing a bit of pressure back home as well in terms of the military front, right? But now he's going to launch what he called a economic war, all right? Sanctions on Iran, all right? And any country that's dealing with Iran as well, affecting oil prices. And oil prices push up. That's where first resources, right, to do with palm oil, have started to benefit a bit more, all right? And we are finding a new high. So I think it looks pretty good. $4 would be a new support level. Let me put this $4 as a green, I would say, new higher support level. It looks pretty bullish from 4 all the way to 5. We might see some consolidation as we move higher, right, as the uptrend continues, right? But as long as we don't see any red color bearish signal popping out, it could pop out anywhere. I have no idea when it popped out because I've set my alerts. If it pop out, then I'll know. And then I'll think about getting out, take some profit, right? But if it doesn't pop out, why not continue to ride it? Does it make sense? Right? So that's the tool that we have to guide us, not about getting in. I think getting in is one thing, but I think getting out is equally important, because if you don't know when to get out, and then from profits you go all the way back down and become like no more already, right? So you must know when to get out, and that's how we have a tool to guide us on that, right? If a bearish signal were to appear, that's where we want to turn to be a bit more cautious. But as of now, there isn't any bearish signals after 2 over months. All right, Ken. So that's first resources. Let me pass on the mic to Jia Yi to share his top Singapore bonus stock for today as well. Jia Yi?
All right. Thank you, Joey. So I think my bonus stock is quite similar to Joey in a sense where it's actually similar sector. It's actually on Bumitama. So I think both Bumitama and First Resources actually do on palm oil. I think the difference is actually, I think Bumitama is quite near a resistance level. Maybe that's where actually, if prices are able to break above this level, that's where we can actually look in for like a breakout strategy. So I think if you look at Bumitama, I mean, obviously it has been showing strength as well. I think since last year, it has been staying above this 125 level, broke above this 150, I think, start of the year, and started to show more strength. In just this year, I think when it hit, in May, around at 220 level, couldn't break above, started to show some short-term weakness, pull back to that 150 level again. And I think just recently we can notice that the moving averages are starting to show more strength, showing more positive signal for this counter. So first thing is 100 days and 200 days has been sloping upwards, has been showing strength. 20 days previously was sloping downwards and it started to flatten. And I think just recently, it started to show more strength again. And another good sign or good signal is actually it broke above this 180 level. So I think 180 previously was a support broken, tested as a resistance. I think quite a few times here, and I think around here. And just recently, I think start of this week, actually it broke above that 180 to 185 level and started to show more strength. So I think Bumitama currently is actually kept under this 220 resistance level. So you can see that prices today actually, I think before in the morning, prices actually went above that 220, tried to test this resistance level, but I think sellers came in to push back the price down back to below that 220 level. But I mean, there's still an afternoon session, 1 to 5 o'clock. We wouldn't know how Bumitama might trade moving forward. But if prices are able to break above and stay above that 220 level, that could be a sign or a signal that this 220 might be a new support level. And the next upside, just doing a simple projection from that 180 to 220, the next target could be around that 260 level. That could be a next resistance if prices are able to break above and stay above that 220. But of course, we wouldn't know whether it's able to break or within today. But that's where actually we want to monitor whether prices are able to break above. And if we were to turn on that trailing support and resistance, I think we can see that the trailing support currently is around that 185 or 184 level. So I think if prices are not able to break above and pull back to the support level of that 185 to 190 level, I think this could be a zone, a buy zone as well. If you're more conservative and you want to buy at a slightly a cheaper price, but of course we wouldn't know whether prices are able to go back to that level. And if it's not able to go back to the level and break above that 220, maybe that's another level that you can look at to enter with a more upside of maybe around towards that 260 level. So I think for Bumitama, similar to First Resources, has been showing strength. Long-term average, short-term moving average has been showing strength as well. I think this is one of the counter that you can look at. And I believe this is one of the counter that I know Joey has been sending out for WhatsApp broadcast as well and have been covering on it as well. So I think that's for my bonus stock, Bumitama. Maybe if you're interested, you can add into a watch list. And if not, I'll pass on my time to Z to cover her bonus stock.
All right, thanks, Jiayi. Okay, so finally, we have come to the last one, which is my bonus stock, right? And I would like to share with you guys today. That would be UMS, right? So Joey and Jiayi both has kind of like share about stocks that are kind of in the plantation space, right? With First Resources and Bumitama. So for UMS, I would say it is totally a different industry, right? Definitely heading back into the tech sector. So I think over the past 1 to 2 weeks or so, we started to see a little bit of renewed strength coming into this technology sector, whereby, when a sector actually starts to wake up again, right, I think that's where you perhaps want to also pay attention to some of those stocks that are in the sector, right? So for UMS, right, overall, you can see that longer term uptrend definitely still intact, right? Short term wise, we do see weakness actually starting coming back in from June, right? We have the 1GT bearish signal coming out, and then 20 days moving average flatten out, point out another 1GT bearish signal, right? And price actually broke below the support level, which I've drawn at around $2.40, right? So actually, in fact, for the tech sector, if you go and take a look at it, actually since June, right, there was the sell-off, right, of the tech sector due to higher capex and things like that. And definitely, even though UMS is not in the US market, it's in the Singapore market, but because of the fact that it has is related to the semicon industry as well, right? So that's why you also do see getting affected, right? Whereby short term, we do see weakness returning, right? But very quickly over the past 2 weeks or so, you can see that the 20 days moving average is no longer pointing down, right? it is now sloping back up. Wait, let me just zoom in so that you guys all can see, right? You can see that 20 days moving average is sloping back up, aligning with the longer term moving average, right? And on top of that, we have two 1 GT bullish signal that actually comes out, right? So $2.40 was actually the support that I've mentioned earlier on, right? Why did I draw it about 240? Because you can see that when prices was, when it breaks out here, right, May, above this 240, right over here, you can see that this long lower shadow, right, buyers are actually present, right here, even when the 1 GT bearish signal came out, right, this level was being tested, and then buyers came in, rebound back up, again test here, again test here. So it has been tested multiple times, right? And I mean, of course, at this point in time, bears won lah, right? It broke down, right? It broke down below this 240 for at least 1 week. Wow, but actually buyers came in very quickly, regained the support level, and now 240 is still as a support level, the immediate support level for UMS, right? So that is the immediate support level that we could be looking towards. And in terms of resistance wise, I would say definitely psychological level around these $3, maybe about $2.85, $2.80 to about these $3. That could be what we call a resistance zone, right? And in terms of support zone, this is what we call it as like a potential buy zone, whereby we can potentially position ourselves for entry near to a support level, right? Near to a support level, especially so when we know that the short-term trend, long-term trend is starting to head back up again with two bullish signal, right? So with that in mind, I mean, of course, you can also have your own trading plan in place already, right? Whereby, prices, if it retrace back to the support zone, that could be where you can potentially position yourself for entry, set some price alert with a target in mind near the $3 psychological resistance zone. Right, that could be one. The other one definitely would be what we call it as a breakout as well, right? I think that was what I covered in ST Engineering as well. So in terms of the range that it was trading, right, we projected up. You can see the next potential upside target, right, that we could be looking towards could be towards the $3.60. So again, there is no right, no wrong in terms of what strategy you would like to actually implement, right? But the key thing that I would like to bring your attention to, right, is either one of the strategy that you actually think about doing, make sure to take a look at, whether does your risk to reward, right, make sense in terms of where do you actually set your stop loss, your target, and your entry price, right? This could be what we call like a retracement, right? When price retrace back to a support, it rebounds back up to the $3 resistance, take profit. This could be one of the trading plan in place, right? With a stop loss slightly below the $2.40 support level, right? The other way, it is a potential upside target towards the 360 based on the projection, but that would be what we call a breakout strategy, right? But breakout not just means you see right over here, price breakout and then come back down. We want to make sure that it break out and can hold firmly above the $3, turning it into a new higher support. Then that's when we have more confirmation that this $3 indeed is a new higher support from the $2.40. And that could be a potential breakout, right? Because your $3 essentially turned to become a new higher support. And of course, your stop loss, you can place it below the $3 as well, depending on your risk appetite, in terms of the percentages that you want to put below a support zone with your target towards the $3.60, right? So that could also be a potential trading plan with a pretty healthy risk to reward, right? So either or, there's no right, no wrong. But right now, price is at about 2.79, right? So it is definitely very close, I would say definitely closer to the resistance than the support. So in that sense, usually we also don't try to chase for any stock, because once you start chasing into any stock, you get very emotional and it's very hard for you to look at it objectively with a trading plan. So typically we always say practice patience, right? Which is what Joey also mentioned earlier on, right? Have your alerts being set, either be it at the support zone nearer to the 240 for a retracement strategy, or it could be towards above the $3 if it breaks and hold firmly above it for a breakout strategy. But either way, have a stop loss plan in place, have a trading plan in place, make sure to do your risk management and also your position sizing, right? But overall, definitely for this particular stock, we are looking at some renewed strength returning. Definitely something, if you're keen in, back to the industry, tech sector, this is something that perhaps you might also want to consider to add into your watch list as well. Okay, so that would be for UMS. I hope that helps. With that, I think I've come to the end of my bonus stock. I'll pass the time back over to Joey.
All right, thank you so much, Z. All right, so there we have it, guys. We have covered the three Singapore bonus stocks already, all right at the end of the segment as promised, right? So the very first stock that I covered was First Resources, right? Jia covered on Bumitama Agri, and Z covered a tech stock, UMS, right? These were stocks that I say, right? We actually sent out a note to our clients in Philips Securities. So you want to find a bit more as to how to get some of those ideas much faster as well. Check out the link, it's right in the chat, right? So yeah, I believe we have come to the end, right? I believe we've come to the end of today's session, and maybe just a final shout out, as I say, right? I've prepared this kind of like an assessment, like a mini quiz, right? So if you want to find out the number one thing that's holding you back in your trading, all right, what's the thing that you need to really focus on? What is the gap that you need to fix? What is the bottleneck, right? Well, the link is right in the chat. There's this assessment, all right? There's this assessment whereby you can click on it to find out more, answer a few questions, 12 questions, take about 2-3 minutes. That's where I'll send you some solutions of what you can do, all right? Check it out. That's something that I've just created, something very exciting as well. I'm looking to see some of your results that you guys are getting, all right, in terms of the how you can improve lah. Ken? Okay, so let me maybe Jai and Z, anything to add before we end?
On my end, maybe just a quick shout out to remind you guys. I mean, I think we still have about 200 of you guys over here. Like what Joey said at the beginning, right? We have a podcast, right? We have a podcast that's called One Good Chat Podcast, right? And we are trying to aim to push out every new episodes on every Thursday lah. So just to let you guys know, if you guys are keen, make sure to follow Joey so that every time when a new episode is actually released, you guys will be the first to actually, listen to that as well.
And I think to add on next, as always, next week will be on US. So those who are interested in the US market, how the US market is, join us for the next week AMS. Yep.
All right, that's it, guys. So have a blessed, good weekend. All right, we'll see you guys next Friday again for the AMAS back to the US market. But I hope you enjoyed today's Singapore edition of Ask Me Any Stocks. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for just participating, typing a chat. Very sorry if we cannot cover all your stocks, but we look forward to work with you a bit closer. Check out some of the links that we have placed in the chat. All right, and we look forward to see you as well in the next AMAS or maybe my next webinar next Tuesday. All right, to find a bit more about the strategy as well, the one good trend strategy. All right, thank you so much. I didn't just acknowledge all of you. Brandon, thank you as well. Thank you, General Lajo, Eddie. All right, Vincent. All right, we'll see you guys. Take care. Bye. Blessed weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.